Painful to relive, but you only get better from learning from the L's. Welcome in. It's 9 to noon. Packers are 6-3. It's a Monday morning after a 24-14 Lions victory at Lambeau Field. Now 3 consecutive years, the Honolulu Blues celebrate in our home, and a disappointing L. I'm Bill Schmid. Armin Sarian, master mixer of the Monday montage. Well done, young man, even though nothing good to report for our guy, John. From a rain-soaked Lambeau Field yesterday. He joins us on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line 877-794-1973. Join the party. Join the fray. Yeah, John, I can only imagine that was you into a nice warm bath yesterday after that beat down by the Lions yesterday.
Did you dry off yet, John? Is one of those
I got good rain gear. I was not too wet. Now, it did pour. I mean, any rain gear, even the best rain gear, if you stand in the rain for 4.5, 5 hours, you get a little wet. I got a little wet. Like, I got home and my clothes underneath my rain gear were damp around the cuffs and around the ankles. But for the most part, I was pretty dry. So that was good. That's the good news. The bad news is no victory chicken, more like chicken soup necessary after that one, because that was a rough one for the Packers. That was a rough one for Packer fans. And I think the roughest part of it is the Packers couldn't handle the elements the way a dome team could playing their first game outside.
John, I think the most disappointing thing was the ringing conversation that Larry McCarron was having with many of the Packers in the locker room yesterday that we were bringing on Packers OT. Yeah. And like every single one of his questions, I love Larry. I love listening to just hearing him live and die with each and every snap. My man it was hurting him as a former player, John. You could hear him every single time he's talking to Elton Jenkins, talking to Jordan Morgan, talking to you guys didn't put your best foot forward today. They didn't get your guys' best shot,
right?
I know they didn't get your guys' best shot. And that is the most disappointing thing for Packers fans. And I know it's going to be the toughest thing going into a bye week. However, good time to be able to stew on it is when you drop the ball 5 to 6 times, depending on whose metric. Match Nyman called it an embarrassing effort yesterday, said that they didn't have a chance to beat a respectable football team, let alone the best team in football, who was gettable yesterday. But you had to play your A game, and the Packers far, far from that yesterday.
Hey, there's a reason why we all picked the Lions to beat the Packers going into this game. And this was before we knew the Packers were going to drop the ball all over themselves in the elements. We had a very good suspicion that Jair Alexander wouldn't be playing. We knew Evan Williams wasn't playing, and we thought Josh Myers could potentially not play. Those 3 guys not playing had a big impact in this football game. Very big impact in this football game. And I understand. The Detroit Lions were playing without their top 3 pass rushers from the start of the season. And for most of the game, they're starting strong safety, who's probably going to be all pro this year. Yeah. So yes, they were hampered too, just like we were hampered with injuries. But this is the deal with the Lions. And this is what I noticed. And this is why I have the Lions right now at the top of the NFC right now, because they are a team. And I said this before the broadcast yesterday. They are a team that when you play them, you better have a strong chin, because they are going to connect on a couple of haymakers. They are going to connect with some big explosive plays, and they are going to hit you on some big game situations. 2 4th downs in our end of the field where we could have got stops, Lions off the field, no points. They scored touchdowns on both of them. That's an absolute haymaker. You better have a strong chin to be able to come back from that. On the other side, you got to be able to throw some haymakers yourself and keep them off balance and keep them rattled. You better be able to, on 4th and 1 in their red zone, close to the end zone, be able to at least get the first down, not end it on downs, not get stopped for a no gain or a loss. You got to be able to throw those haymakers in game situations as well. You have to be able to do that for 60 minutes. Everybody clowned Dan Campbell for his opening press conference his first year. Then people had gotten after him over the years for being this riverboat gambler and taking all these chances and doing all these things. And we all sat here last year, myself included, and said, hey, Dan Campbell's got as much of that blame in that NFC Championship game against the 49ers as anybody else on that football team. And he took it. He took that responsibility. But he took that also to the field last night. And that same mentality that lost in the NFC Championship game last year, they just doubled down. They doubled down and they brought that into last night's game, that same mentality, that same style, and it worked for them. Sometimes you change a little bit in what you do, and sometimes you just do what you do better. The Lions are the best in the NFC right now.
I think they're the best in football right now. And to be able to see a team that is as confident in who they are, that's exactly Detroit. And like you just mentioned, they know there was no hesitation on the field. And I think that's where to be able to know it's the right decision at any given point in time is when none of the 11 guys on offense even think about moving on 4th and 5 at the Green Bay 5. They knew they were going for it. They knew what was happening.
Yeah.
They knew that they were going to try to drop big TJ Slayton off sides and were able to do so. I mean, like once again, every single moment you had a chance to withstand. John mentions it. I mean, 2 touchdowns that the Lions end up scoring. You hold that offense to 17 points. You're going to feel real confident in having a chance to win that football game. Both of the touchdowns come on 4th downs. And you have a chance to get off the field. Instead, it's a touchdown onto the other side. Back-breaking moments. And that's before, Armin, we even get to the most backbreaking moment when it's still a 10-3 football game with a minute to go in the second quarter. Knowing the Lions are going to get the ball to start the second half, you got to go down, try to get points, and instead hand them 7. And next time you end up touching the ball for real in earnest, you're down 24-3.
Yeah, worst mistake at the worst time. And as you guys said, but you just can't make mistakes. And you can't not only make mistakes, you can't miss opportunities against this team. So not only do they score on their 4th and 1, the most important downs for the Packers on offense consistently failed to convert. I mean, all the 3rd downs, in my opinion, the Packers dropped 2 touchdowns yesterday. We know about the one for Wicks. You know, in the first drive, the Packers settled for a field goal. It was a great first drive. Brooks catches that ball, brings it in. He's in the end zone. He's most likely in the end zone, at worst, a 1st and goal. So those are opportunities you can't miss against this team, Detroit Lions, who are very good. They're 1st and DVOA for a reason. It doesn't mean that they weren't gettable. And I think that there's a point where a lot of fans look at that game and say, well, we're not good enough or we're not talented enough. I think the Packers are good enough to win, but you have to match their level of ability and talent and execution with your own. And if you don't execute and you make too many mistakes, you just are not going to beat a team like that who comes in with a lot of talent. And I think at most positions you take the Lions over the Packers. Doesn't mean you can't win, but I heard a lot. I heard some people saying we're more talented but blew the game. I don't know about that. I think the Lions are very talented, but it shows you the Packers are 6-3 now heading into the bye. It's not a terrible place to be. You come off a loss like that in your own home field, stinks because you do feel like you could have played better. You know you can play better and execute better and give yourself a chance to win.
John Armin makes a good point. We're saying you look at all the 22 starting positions, you take the Lions at a decent amount of them.
I would, yeah.
Would you at the most important position? Because being able to take care of the football is priority A. And yesterday, the one in white, and for the majority, all of 2024, he has made the right decision. Jared Goff is playing football as well as any quarterback in the NFL right now, if not better than most in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and take the Lions over the Packers, as far as giving up on this team. I think the Packers are incredibly talented. And I think the Packers are going to get Evan Williams back at some point in time and get Jair Alexander back at some point in time. And I think the Packers might make a move here before the trade deadline to help bolster their defensive line at some point in time. So
Sexy Dexy, big Dexter Lawrence, Sexy Dexy coming in here. Can we get the league leader in sacks at 345 pounds?
Well, that would be cool. That would be nice. That wouldn't bother me.
I'd be a big fan of that.
I think it might go a little bit more to the outside.
Okay. I'd be down with that. Okay.
Maybe Aziz Ansari. Is that how you say it? Yeah, maybe that, because we're not going Za'Darius Smith. Let's be
definitely not going Za'Darius Smith.
And there's really 2 edge rushers out there right now that are being rumored. Those 2 names, and I know we're not going Za'Darius, so let's go the other. And hey, by the way, look at the Lions. This is why I think the Packers make a move this year. And everybody's, the Packers never make a move. This is why I think they do, because we just saw what happened yesterday. Okay, and the Lions, they got a little bit of pressure on Jordan Love, but they didn't actually get home all that often. But they did get pressure. But they're playing with what they consider their preseason squad. That's the guys they run out in the preseason games. Because like I said, their top 3, they were out yesterday. So they need reinforcements too. Right. If they want to make a Super Bowl run, they need reinforcements. They know that. The Packers know that. The Packers Wouldn't mind having another pass rusher too. We're potentially shopping Preston Smith a few weeks ago. We heard that. I just think you have to add to your team, not just talent wise, but you need to add to your team by subtraction. And addition by subtraction to the Lions means you take who you think is the best one out there, unless it's Darius Smith. If you think, but he can't be the best one out there.
Well, I know the best two out there, and I don't think either of them are getting traded. Now, if there would be a year and a time where you'd be able to, in theory, withstand the big draft capital swing that it would take to acquire one of the top players at the position, like a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby, you would think as one of the better teams in football, as the youngest team in football, it would be the time. I don't think anybody is taking that kind of swing, and I don't really know that the Raiders are making that move. However, they just fired their offensive coordinator yesterday. Dennis Allen, by the way, box waiting at your door, fired by the New Orleans Saints here as we get underway here on the news breaking edition of 9 to noon on a L Monday going into the bye. But at 6-3, John, there's not a whole lot of reason to jump off. And if anything, and I love this one text already on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line 877-794-1973, because it means patented positivity coming from at least myself is a part of it. 920, can't wait for Billy to spin this Packers loss as a good game. Hey, not a good one. However, can be a good litmus test to know, John, to your point, look at what that team's going to do. You know that they're going to make an addition. You are right there. You're very, very close. However, you do need to get better. You do need a couple of reinforcements, and it might, if it pushes any kind of decision forward to make a move, maybe it does. It also, again, I think validates one of the big concerns that I know a lot of people have had, and right now there's only 2 quarterbacks in football that have thrown 2 pick sixes this year. And since the 4th quarter in the divisional round, Jordan Love leads the NFL in interceptions, and he's missed 2.5 games. So the decision-making at the quarterback spot needs to be better if you're going to get to the divisional round and further here in 2024. That's just an absolute given.
Yeah, and they have hurt. The interceptions have hurt, and you're waiting for that moment that it breaks out and they stop. You know, these things can be contagious. They can come in waves, and then they can disappear. Remember him at the end of last season?
Yeah, absolutely.
They disappeared.
Yeah.
The team played much better. And this is the deal. At the end of the day, yeah, we got our butts kicked yesterday. And do I consider the Lions the best team in the NFC? Right now, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I do. But the Packers are 6-3, rolling into a bye. Mm-hmm. Get healthy. Get your focus centered. I mean, if the Packers can't make a run this year, if the Packers struggle down the stretch this year, if the Packers don't get into the wild card, win a wild card game, play a good divisional, maybe win a divisional, if they don't achieve what they achieved last year or better, it will be because of themselves. It will be because of penalties. It will be because of dropped balls. It will be because they're not disciplined. Discipline falls back on the coaching. And for as much as I've praised Matt LaFleur this year, I felt yesterday he got out-coached. I felt like his team was underprepared compared to the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell out-coached Matt LaFleur yesterday, just like the Lions beat the Green Bay Packers. We're halfway through the season. This is the right time to lose to a good team. The wrong time to lose is at the end of the year.
Yep.
Let's hope they make the fixes so that the end of the year comes and it's not, here we go again.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with that. Like, it's important to remember the Packers, and I do this, and I'm on, I get on Twitter during games, and I probably shouldn't because everyone's in their feelings, and the discourse can be sort of miserable after a loss, even to a good team. It's easy to forget you're still 6-3. At this time last year, you were the opposite. Things were looking a lot more bleak. They got better. You're 6-3. You're on track with everything you want to do the rest of this year. Get 11, maybe 12 wins.
And your point, 6-3, a lot better than 3-6.
Yes, get a playoff spot and try and make a deep run. It's just gonna be, how do you set yourself up for success in those big moments where you're playing good teams and you have to play mistake-free football and you have to execute and you can't make big mistakes. That's going to be the thing. But you're right, John. It's what you learn from midseason. Billy, you said it. You're 6-3 headed into the bye. It's still a good spot to be. There's no reason to have such a sky is falling discourse on this team. Overall, it's been a good first half of the year to the bye week, but it does feel like there's more left out there that can be had, right? That there's more that they can do because of the mistakes.
6-3, and the Packers lead the NFL in drops.
Right.
And I think we might lead the NFL in penalties as well. Penalties are hard to find sometimes. If you could find out, Armin, but I think we might even lead the NFL in penalties. That, I mean, you cannot continue to put yourself behind the 8 ball. If you're going to throw, this is why I always say, if you're going to throw the football, you better not have drops, because a throw on first down that's dropped, that's a run for no gain. You can easily have a run for no when you're throwing the ball. You run on first down, more times than not, you're going to get 3 yards. You're going to be sitting at 2nd and 7. I mean, how many times do you get to 3rd and 1 and you like your chances? Now, Packers have had a couple things that have reared their ugly head this year: drops, penalties, and then short yardage in red zone. Like, what the hell
red zone, the worst.
is going on there? Like, what is going on there? And it's almost as if all the creativity that their offense has on 1st and 2nd and even 3rd down that's not short yardage, all that creativity, when it comes down to the field is shrunk and you need to get just a few yards, all that creativity goes out the door, and being able to punch a man in the face is a hard thing for the Packers to do.
Packers are 6th in the league in number of penalties and 11th in penalty yards, if I'm reading this right.
Yeah, and I think to John's point, the one that to me is, you can sometimes get away with those. You can still be able to come back from those. But when you're not scoring touchdowns in the red zone, they're under 50% scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Yesterday, they were 1 of 4. Turn the ball over on downs in there. You can have a field goal. You end up missing a field goal in a pretty key opportune time. And the Packers bottom 5 in football scoring touchdowns in the red zone. However, right above them, San Francisco 49ers. So that's another good football team that I think in the end, in January, is going to have a lot to say about how this NFC goes down. You lose yesterday, doesn't lose your opportunity to win the NFC. Just potentially means you're going to have to go through MCDC and the Motor City. And potentially, the way the weather and the conditions were handled yesterday made a lot of cracks about Jared Goff last week. Small hands, outdoors, playing in the rain. Might not be a bad thing for the Green Bay Packers to be playing indoors in January.
Might not be.
Might not be a bad thing. Might not be a bad thing for this team to be playing a dome team coming up in the playoffs at their place. 877-794-1973. Your reaction wide open on the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. Take some phone calls before Matt Schneidman joins the party coming up at 10. He called the loss embarrassing yesterday. Said the Packers didn't play well enough to beat any respectable team, let alone one that might be the league's best. They didn't get the Packers' best shot. You'll get ours. Packers lose 24-14 yesterday. John Kuhn, Billy Schmidt, Armin Sarian, ready to go. Running into a bye week. Time to refresh. Time to recoup. And time to get back to some victory chicken in 2 weeks. We got a lot of time to lick the wounds and react with you on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line. It's 9 to noon on the game. Matt LaFleur yesterday. Okay. Yes, totally get it. Yeah, totally get it. I will question what we're doing, falling away, potentially going down, trying to sneak the ball over not one, but two offensive linemen's heads, trying to get it to Josh Jacobs and then Kirby Joseph. I used to like Kirby. Kirby used to be one of my favorite characters to use in Super Smash Bros.
He was tough. He was tough.
Damn, Kirby Joseph is an absolute wizard at Lambeau Field, John. This cat just ends seasons and games like basically he did yesterday. And yeah, Matt, I get it. You're a little annoyed. I'd push back a little bit. I don't necessarily get what you're doing with that last one here yesterday on the pick six that ends up costing the Pack quite a bit.
I was more of a Pikachu.
Good one.
I was more of a Pikachu. Shoot that little electric bolt, and then the lightning from the sky shock him up.
And he had like a fart that would kill people. Didn't Pikachu like poof out of his? I remember
lightning,
that.
No, Pikachu could shoot some lightning from about a body away, and then he could shoot a lightning from the sky.
Oh yeah. I remember.
And he could do a tail whip. I think he did a tail whip.
Well, and then
some moves that
you always knew that there was gonna be the one guy. I want to be Zelda. Okay, sick, cool, awesome, congratulations. No, you're not doing that. What are we doing over here? Go pick something fun and have yourself a good old time.
Every person on Talking Text line right now is like, what the hell are they talking about? We're gonna get back to
queuing themselves up with their favorite player.
Talk about LaFleur. Talk about football, guys. Okay.
I will say this to LaFleur. It would just be better if you came up there and you just said, listen, it's unacceptable. We cannot throw a pick six, especially at that point in time in the game. Follow-up question. Well, did you ever think of maybe going to Malik Willis? No. Why? Because Jordan Love gives us the best chance to win the football game. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Jordan Love gives his team the best chance to win every football game. It's true. Your eyes might tell you a different thing because you remember the Colts game that they won 16-7, or the Titans game that he had an explosive run and there were a couple big plays, and you might remember those things. You might remember the Jaguars hitting Jaden Reed down the sideline. Jordan Love gives his team the best chance to win every football game, to win every play, to win every series, to score the most points. And that's just the fact. So they're going to be rolling with Jordan Love. Does Jordan Love need to play better? At times, it sure as hell would be nice if he just would throw the ball in the dirt sometimes. Just throw it away.
Right.
Just throw it away. But still 60 to 70% of the times he's doing unbelievable stuff. The stuff you just need your quarterback to do. Keep in mind, Patrick Mahomes has a lot of interceptions this year too. His team's undefeated, and they're playing tonight. We'll see how that thing plays out. Nobody's talking about benching Patrick Mahomes. Nobody. So my point is this: Jordan Love is the Packers' best quarterback. Jordan Love is the Packers' starting quarterback. Jordan Love will play if Jordan Love can protect himself on a football field. Those are the bottom lines. That's all it comes down to. If Matt just said that and got it out there, that the whole. We know he's trying his hardest. Yeah, you're sticking up for him right now. Just say what we all know. It's unacceptable. You cannot throw that pick six at that moment. I literally said on the broadcast, Billy, Packers need to be careful here on this drive.
Oh, yeah.
Just need to be careful. We've had a number of drops already. Just be careful. I know we want to score points, but we got to run the rest of the time off this clock because we're down 7 and they get the ball back to start the next half. If they just don't throw the pick six, if they just run it 3 times to run the clock out, and the Lions come down and they score that touchdown first drive of the second half, the Packers can still run the football. They were running the football great. Yep. They were running it great. Josh Jacobs had 70 yards, I think, in the first quarter. They were running it great. And then all of a sudden, you're playing a game in the rain where nobody can catch the ball in the rain, and you have to throw the football. I mean, it was as if the Packers knew what the game plan was, but kind of went away from it.
Yeah, and kind of had to at certain points. And Josh and Fredonia is right away. Last week, y'all said you were okay with the INTs. Now you have an issue with them. Not all are created equal. And this one is so far from the same. This one, along with the Rams pick six, those are got to know when to quit the play, John, and live another down.
And can we also say, we said we were okay with the INTs because the plays he was making We didn't say we were okay if he throws an INT every game or two, per game or another pick six.
Yeah.
We didn't say those things. We said we were okay with some of the bad that we saw in Jordan. Keep this in mind still. Okay, through 8 games, because last night was the 9th game. Through 8 games, Jordan Love had missed 2.5 games. You want to talk about getting into a rhythm, the rhythm that he was in the last half of last season? That takes consistency, repetition, work, practice. That's a funny one. How about practice? Jordan Love only practiced Friday last week. I am not excusing his mistakes. I'm telling you why the mistakes are there. Now, the interceptions, get rid of the interceptions, the pick sixes. They're going to happen. He's going to throw another interception this year. But it'd be great if he didn't throw them at the clip he's throwing them at right now.
And I think a lot of it also comes down to, like you said, Billy, the type of interceptions and the level of risk that's optimum and the level of risk that's not. I wasn't saying I was okay with interceptions. I was actually, I think, the lone dissenter. But throughout Aaron Rodgers' career, I'm just keeping it real. I'm just keeping it real. But I think throughout Aaron Rodgers' career, what we heard so much from fans that were getting frustrated about him holding the ball and taking sacks was, stop trying to avoid interceptions. You're playing it way too careful. Well, you can't have it both ways. And now, obviously, this was a bad decision, but in a bad result. But in live competition, these things are going to happen. So to Matt LaFleur's defense a little bit, and you might be surprised I'm taking this. John, you're right. It would have been easier if he just came up and said that right away. Matt LaFleur basically said that 4 or 5 times and kept getting the same question other ways. These are basically unanswerable questions. So there's a point where I'm saying the press corps, I don't know what they want him to say. It's like, how can he prevent from making bad decisions and making bad mistakes? It's basically saying, how can he play God and not have anything bad happen?
You're right. I am surprised you're taking this route.
And I am going to do it, actually.
Yeah,
at this moment.
Really weird.
You're right. I am surprised.
How many times do I always defend the media? Right?
Always.
But not,
especially when they ask some dumb questions.
There was nothing left from Atlas. I would have got annoyed too. Like, look, I don't know what you want me to say. We just need to play better and not have mistakes. Why it's happening, or they're like, what are the things that he's doing now that are making him make mistakes? These are not answerable questions. These are not real things. They're not installing a game plan during the week to say we need to make more mistakes.
No, but there is, and I will defend the question a little bit here, because I think there is something that you do know is inside of Jordan, right? It is also the same cat that led college football with 17 picks in 12 games his senior year. Now, granted, he had a lot of extenuating circumstances. The coaches leave, had a lot of talent leave, but there's still that belief that you need to make the heroic play every single time. While you guys were just dominating the radio call, I was listening to a little bit of the Brady Burkhardt experience on the Fox call, and Tom was going through it where you could hear him say, the game just doesn't call for that right now. If you're down 2 scores with 4 minutes to go, John, yes, then you got to find a way to try to get it over 3 guys' heads over to Josh Jacobs and try to live to see another down. The game calls for you to do exactly what John said right before on the radio call of run this bad boy 3 times, get us to halftime. People, change your jersey if you got to. And let's go out here in the second half of football, try to get a stop and be in a 1-score game. Instead, next time you really see the ball again, it's 24-3, and it's a totally different game. These picks are so different, guys. I'm lucky enough to do the Saturday post games and Sunday, Badgers and Packers.
Yeah.
Both quarterbacks right now like throwing picks. All right, both Badgers quarterback Braden Locke, Packers quarterback Jordan Love like throwing interceptions. I watch a lot of interceptions on Saturdays and say, what on earth are you doing? There's fewer of those on Sunday. Sunday, you're getting a lot more of the biscuit in the risk it kind of throws, John, and pushing the ball down the field. Those mistakes inherently going to happen when you take those kind of risks. But there's not just I'm watching Braden Locke throw the ball right in between a guy's chest. I thought he was going to split the 1 last week on that pick 6 to the cap from Penn State. You don't see as many of those. You see a lot of, I can make any play on the football field, and gosh dang it, I'm going to try from Jordan Love. That's what's got to get curtailed.
Well, go ahead, John.
I agree. And, to be honest, they're not, created equal. You have tipped balls, interceptions. We're not getting those. Like, we can't, you could put those interceptions on the receiver or a drop ball that turns into an interception. But that one yesterday, You got to know when it's all about the football. That was a backbreaker. That one was crippling to this team. And could you imagine being a defense? You're playing the number one scoring offense in the NFL. That's what you're playing yesterday. You have them held to 10. You just made a huge stand on their last drive. You got a big tackle for a loss on second down, made it 3rd and 10, blitzed Goff. He threw it away. He was 11 for 11 at the time and threw it right into the ground, conceded, kicked the field goal. You're down 10-3. You let up 10 points to the best offense in the NFL scoring wise. And then you go on the field down 17-3 because of a pick six. It is those types of things can be crippling.
B in Burlington, 877-794-1973 gets calls on the other side here. If he throws another pick six, his ass better be benched. Just like in every other sport, you mess up enough times, you sit your butt on the bench. He's saying grab some pine.
Well, maybe we should just go out and kneel the ball every time then if we're that scared of trying to make a play when we're down 10-3 at home. Maybe that's what we should do then. I mean, I know what Tom's saying, but there's no good time for a pick. There's no good time when a situation calls for it, but you're going to go out and try and win, aren't you?
Yeah, if you're up 30 points, if you're up 30 points and you're trying to run it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no team that has a quarterback they believe in and a team they believe in that's not going to try and score at home down 10-3 with 2 minutes to go. So that's where I would push back on that. I know we got to get to break. We got to get to a break.
We got to get to a break. We got Matt Schneidman coming up in 20 minutes, and we got to let Matt Schneidman go today. He's got to be able to run a little bit today on the show because there's no Matt Schneidman show today. There is Badgers basketball on the game here tonight. Come on now. Bucky back in action on the hardwood. Hopefully better than it was against the Hawkeyes this weekend. Whew. We'll get into that at some particular point in time. Maybe we'll get into that at some particular point in time. We'll get to your phone calls on the NickLayLaw.com talking text line 877-794-1973. Packers lose 24-14. React with John Kuhn, Billy Schmidt, Armin Sarian right after this. It's 9 to noon on the game. Guys, Underdog Fantasy, even after a day watching the home team catch a fat L, you could still win. How about that? You could be able to walk away with some cash and be able to wipe away those tears of the Packers' loss to the Lions by playing the Underdog Fantasy Pick'em game. Win up to 1,000 times your money just by simply choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats this year. Whether it's the NFL, passing yards, interceptions, touchdowns, my wife's favorite, or NBA, points, first half points, blocks, steals. You can do a mix between the two. Underdog puts the power in your hands to create your own experience. They also are putting the power in your hands to cash out whenever you want. Now you can either keep riding your entry or tap the win now button to cash out whenever you want. Underdog Fantasy is elite. My favorite way to play and invest all year long this season. Underdog is running a promo, special, or bonus almost every single day. Like their profit boost. They pump up your winnings in just a tap when you apply a boost to eligible entries. They got discounts. You'll get adjusted projections on certain player stats to give you a better shot at a big W. And free picks, they're basically a sure thing. A player just has to get higher than 0.5 point for that pick to win. Plus, all new users get a free pick, so download the app today, sign up with promo code Billy, and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code Billy. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. quick check-in with the newest or the next opponent for the Green Bay Packers. DJ Moore on 670 The Score this morning, their morning show, was asked if Matt Eberflus has lost the locker room. Now, this is aggregator source here, John. I did not listen to the 22-second audio clip, but the quote that was pulled said, I want to say no. Not the answer you probably should give. Probably not the answer you should give if you like the head coach and you think potentially that you would want him. However, 4-4 Chicago Bears going to be taking on the 6-3 Green Bay Packers out of our bye that we have coming up this week. Tough run for Caleb Williams and company. They caught a bad one yesterday, 29-9. Those Arizona Cardinals, and he came out with a little bit of a tweaked ankle, it sounded like, after the game.
Yeah, we'll get into everything that's wrong with the Bears a little bit later, but a lot to be said there.
Can't wait. There is a lot there. There's also
need that. I need that.
You need a little bit of that?
I need a little something.
Kind of like that pink lemonade dunker that you needed this morning. How about that? A little pick me up.
Thank you for the pink lemonade dunker.
Real sweetness this morning.
That really picked me up this morning, Billy. And you know what's, the real, and
tried it for the first time. It was okay.
Quick shout out and a quick thank you to Chandra Lynn. As you know, Chandra on the Packer broadcast, doing the updates. Chandra felt so bad for me. She came in with the big bag of York mints. Let's go, Chandra. Thank you very much. How about
Chandra,
that?
Don't encourage him.
How about that? York peppermint patties, baby. I got a whole bag of them, and you better ask very nicely if you want one.
I will be passing. Instead, I would prefer to talk to Louis in Eau Claire, who called 877-794-1973 with reaction to the Packers 24-14 L to the Lions yesterday. Louis, you're on 9 to noon.
Happy Monday, gentlemen. Rough weekend there. I think the Wisconsin band brought the Badger mojo with them, unfortunately. When I look at the Packers, they're obviously talented, and the sky is not falling. 6-3 is a good record. Whether it's the Jordan Love interceptions or the fumbles, or the penalties, it just seems like there's a little bit of a lack of focus. I know I heard LaFleur talk to Larry after the game, and he kind of specifically mentioned Keyshawn Nixon's penalty right on the first play of the game. Nice return out to the 40, get a 15-yard penalty. That might be the difference between a field goal and a touchdown on that opening drive. So I guess, John, I just want to know, in your opinion, if the team, and this is just my assessment, if they're a little unfocused, whose responsibility is that to fix? Is that the head coach? Is that the position coach? Is that the players themselves? Is it leadership on the team? Just want to know what your thoughts.
Short answer there is yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of them. It's all of them. Ultimately, it comes down to Matt LaFleur. Here's the deal, and this is dead honest, blunt truth here. The younger players in the league now, I mean, they're coming out of colleges that inflate egos, inflate them to the millionth degree. And to some extent, pro teams gotta kind of give that atmosphere. It's when the music started at practices and the basketball hoops in the team meeting rooms and the pictures of themselves versus pictures of old Hall of Famers. As that kind of changes, it changes the dynamic in the field. You can do that, but you gotta be disciplined. And we watch teams like Seattle go ahead and play, undisciplined and win for years, like letting players express themselves. But when Keyshawn Nixon has that great return on the first kickoff and then has something to say or gives a little bump to a coach on his way through and draws that flag, that's awful.
Yeah.
That is selfish.
Mm-hmm.
That is selfish. It's not about you. It's never about you. You got to get off the field and you got to move on. And I love seeing players express themselves, like Tucker Kraft throwing a football into the stands. He's going to get fined for that. If you don't know, you can hand it in the stands. You can't throw it in the stands. Mm-hmm. He's going to get fined for that. That's just some emotion. Like, I don't want to take the player's emotion out of it, but you got to know when to say when. And, there was a moment when the emotion got to a Detroit Lions player yesterday and got kicked out of the game. Yeah. And now he's going to get kicked out, fined for the play, fined for the action. He's going to lose probably $100,000. There's this moment when I sit back and I watch today's NFL sometimes, and I think to myself, Patrick Mahomes, he plays with a great amount of emotion. He doesn't seem to get unnecessary roughness or personal fouls or taunting or stuff like it. Just he can play with that emotion. They're not saying you can't trash talk. but they're saying you can't be absurd with it. And that is just selfish. It's those types of things. Now, a lot of false starts yesterday with the penalties, the undisciplined stuff. A lot of that had to do with Elton starting at center.
Yeah.
Messed up the timing of the snap, and there were some false starts there.
Could have been flagged for more.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Mm-hmm.
The tackles, they were on the tackles yesterday. They have been. It's a point of emphasis this year. But Elton snapping took a part of that. So yeah, ultimately it comes down to the head coach and trying to apply it. But we don't know. Matt could be trying to apply that every day. And these guys, it just might not be getting through to some of them.
The word selfish is the ringing one right there, John, especially when we were asked, somebody asked me on Packers OT yesterday if I thought it was because, John, they're the youngest team in football. It's like, not really, when the Keyshawn Nixon one is one of your vets, right? Like, it's like, we need to bring in some leaders. Well, some of your leaders are the ones getting called for those. Those are the real ones that sting. Braden in Oostburg is up on the NicoletLaw.com talking text line before we get to Match 9. Braden, you're on 9 to noon. What do you got, man?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for calling.
I'm actually living in Michigan right now, and I can tell you people here are being brutal with a Packers fan after last night's game. Seriously.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Keep your chin up.
All I can really
Pray
say
for Braden.
is that I love Dan Campbell. Like, not a Lions fan, but man, he's a great coach. One of the biggest things that people here are talking about is the branch ejection, and they are salty about it. But I looked up the rule book, and it says that when a player has an unobstructed path or contact was clearly avoidable, then the player has to be ejected.
Yeah.
And after watching that play many times, I was quite upset with Tom Brady saying he thought it was questionable, because after reading the rule book, it didn't seem very questionable to me.
Well,
Yeah, show them those receipts, Braden.
Braden,
Appreciate it, Braden.
I will say this. It's a hard thing for players that played before that. And I believe that's a new rule this year, Billy, that you can be ejected. They just put it in this year, adopting kind of the style that college is taking with targeting. Now college can review the targeting over and over and over again. And I don't know if the eye in the sky reviewed it and called down and said, hey, get this guy out. But we've seen many shots to the head around the NFL this year. That's the only one that I can recall a player getting ejected for. It's something that we're not going to, it's kind of like landing on the quarterback after a sack and getting unsportsmanlike penalty for unnecessary roughness. It's a tough one. Players are going to have to really learn how to adjust now.
Yeah, and Perry Fuel, who is the senior vice president of officiating, told Rob Domofsky yesterday, who was the pool reporter, we reviewed all the angles and clearly felt that he had time and space to make a different choice, as the act was a flagrant foul and he clearly had the opportunity to avoid the head and neck area. A lot more on that coming up, because there was a lot more plays similar to that in the NFL. When we go around the NFL, a lot was said about it, and there is a little bit more background that we can give on the ejections coming from New York. There was another one yesterday as well in the late window that you may have missed while you're watching that Packers 24-14 L to the Detroit Lions. Best team in football, maybe. Match Diamond called the loss embarrassing. Hear what else he follows up with on the other side when Match Diamond of The Athletic and the Match Diamond Show joins John Kuhn, Billy Schmid, Armin Sarian right here, and all of you Nooners on 9 to noon. Hour 2 is next on The Game. Hour 2, 9 to noon, fires up with Happy Place Hemp and happyplacehemp.com. Everybody relax with some Happy Place Hemp. Might need it. Delta 8, Delta 9 gummies, drift seltzers, drift into some happiness, and drift into Badgers and Holy Cross tonight. Come on now, 7 o'clock tip
the ball
at the
is
Kohl
tipped.
Center. Let's go.
College basketball is back. The ball is tipped, and there you are.
Got to hear Matt LePay finish out the Badgers broadcast on Saturday night, late night, before Lance Allen and I took over for the post game with a little preview of Holy Cross, Wisconsin. No talk about River Falls. All right, nobody's worried about the River Falls game tonight at 7. It'll be the Badgers taking on Holy Cross. That will bump the Match Nyman show. So Match Nyman going to loosen up, get all of his big takes out with us here right now as he joins us here, as he usually does on Mondays on 9 to noon. Matt, embarrassing is the headline on your story at The Athletic. I don't think it's wrong to say the self-inflicted wounds are the ones that are most troublesome, most frustrating. But for you, was it the interception? Was it the drops? Was it the penalties that felt the most backbreaking yesterday?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Thanks.
I would say the interception was the most backbreaking, but I think the most frustrating when you take a 30,000-foot view are the penalties. And, I think the interception was the most backbreaking yesterday alone because it was 10-3. You had a chance to go down and get some momentum back before the Lions got the ball after the half. And I saw someone tweet at me after I tweeted out the scenario, 58 seconds left, one time out. Someone said, jokingly, I would imagine, what are the chances the Lions get another chance to score this half? Immediate pick six. And
damn.
The thing with those, and we can get into it deeper, is Matt LaFleur says he is fine with Jordan Love's process. These guys are a process over results team. For example, the 53-yard completion to Jaden Reed against the Rams when he threw into triple coverage, they didn't like that decision. They didn't like that process, but they liked the result. So they're saying, don't do that again. You can at least see the process on some of these interceptions with Jordan Love. The check down to Josh Jacobs, the pick six against the Rams. He was trying to throw the ball away to avoid a safety. The thought, the intention is there. The execution is just severely lacking. But the reason I say the penalties is because all year we've heard Matt LaFleur lament the pre-snap penalties. That's a focus issue. He said yesterday, our cadence, our snap count should be an advantage, especially at home. They had 4 false starts. They had 10 penalties overall. They ranked second in the NFL with 30 pre-snap penalties. That is horrible. And they ranked 4th with 20 drops. Yesterday, you can at least understand it a little bit because of the rain. But I say understand instead of excuse, because guess what team didn't have backbreaking drops? Guess what team didn't fumble the ball 3 times on the snap exchange? Guess what team looked like they play in these conditions, not the one we spent all week talking about hadn't played an outdoor game? That's the difference between these two teams right now.
Matt, do you feel like Elton Jenkins playing center played a big part in the pre-snap penalties yesterday?
I don't know. We'd have to dive deeper into, whether it was the cadence or just guys having a lack of focus. I think what we can definitively say Elton Jenkins had a negative impact on was, like I said, those 3 botched snaps. I mean, all those were at Jordan Love's knees or below. Should Jordan Love, or I should say, would Jordan Love have caught those if it was dry out? Probably. But Elton Jenkins after the game said, the ball's just wet. I got to dry it off. But what? The Lions didn't have any of that problem. Figure it out. Regarding the pre-snap penalties, I wouldn't say Elton Jenkins was the reason, because we've been seeing those all year with Josh Myers at center. I don't think it's the center's fault regardless. 30 pre-snap penalties all season. That's more than just the center.
Yeah, but you're used to playing center and snapping the ball more. I think that's you're more likely to make less mistakes on the snap, or at least have a process that's more consistent in muscle memory.
Yeah, but he got those snaps all week, and
well, in a game is different. I can hear your point. You're right, but I think I would think that's what happens. I mean, if I had to step in for someone else's job here, I can imagine I could try and perform it, but it might not be to the same type of consistency and level.
I think you're underselling your performance. I think you're underselling.
Yeah, but Armin, if you have a full week pressing the buttons,
yeah,
behind the scenes instead of a live broadcast, and then you get on a live broadcast, you should be able to do it. And snapping the ball is not the hardest part about playing center.
No, I'm not saying it's the hardest part. I agree. I mean, there's a lot more going on, but it can be a byproduct of what we see.
I think it's a
Some
hard
underrated part of it.
It's a very underrated part of playing center.
Sure, I just said it's not the hardest.
I still kind of disagree that you should be able to do the job as well as the other guy just because you practice it that week. It helps. I don't know.
Okay, but we can argue the semantics till the cows come home. There's too much more to get to from a 24-14 L, including the fact that this Amon-Ra St. Brown, this from the 33rd team. Amon-Ra St. Brown threw a touchdown pass to Jared Goff more recently than Goff threw an incomplete pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown. 7 for 7 yesterday. The touchdown was a beautiful route design, patience right there. We talked about the plays that changed the game, Matt. You don't convert on a 4th and 1, turn it over on downs. They go for it on 4th down in the red zone twice, score touchdowns on both of those 4th down plays. Like, it is right there for a team that I think John and I both fully believe that this is the best team in the NFC, that being the Detroit Lions. And if the Packers play damn near their C game or B game yesterday, it's a much different ball game. They did not give their best chance at it yesterday. And that, to me, is the most frustrating one out of all that we talked about. Not being able to make those key plays on those 3 stops, 2 on defense, 1 on offense, might be the most frustrating part of the game.
I think just encapsulating it all in shooting themselves in the foot and self-inflicted wounds, because I don't think you can boil it down to this or that or 3 plays. It was like the entire game. It was Keyshawn Nixon's stiff arm, not a stiff arm, but shoving his hand in a guy's face on the sideline on the opening kickoff to cost him 15 yards. And you can argue whether that was soft or not, but guess what? Matt LaFleur said it was totally unacceptable. You can't do it. It was after the Packers get a free 30 yards because of Brian Branch, a false start and a Tucker Kraft drop on the 3rd down. It's Dontavian Wicks dropping a touchdown on a throw that Jordan Love put a little bit behind him. It's Chris Brooks possibly dropping a touchdown on a throw Jordan Love. Like, it was all game. And the thing is, I understand people saying, well, if we just did these things right, we're right there. And I get that. And they're right. But Xavier McKinney said it well after the game last night. He said, we just keep messing up the same things, so I got to stop saying it. We just got to do it. That's what gives me a little pause here. Is it's one thing if this was one game and it was okay, we just got to get these things cleaned up. But the things that they need to clean up, the pre-snap penalties, the drops, the penalties overall, the interceptions. Sure, you can say those are easy to clean up, but they have been plaguing the Packers all season. So if they were so easy to clean up, they would have been cleaned up by now.
Okay, so let me just, if the Packers played a good game yesterday, or let's say when the Packers match up after November, or I think it's the first week of December that they match up, right?
St. Nick Day, December 5th.
When they're there in Detroit, do they have a chance, or does Detroit make teams do these stupid mistakes? I mean, a lot of the self-inflicted wounds yesterday, I understand there's a lot of self-inflicted wounds, but can the Packers, can they clean that up, and can they play with the Detroit Lions team executing as well as they did yesterday with the elements?
Without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, I think we react to each game in a vacuum this season because that's what we do. But I also think it's okay to take a 30,000-foot view of the season. 6-3 going into the bye is good. The Packers are in a good spot. They're probably going to make the playoffs. There's still a lot of football left. Last year, they suffered a similar defeat to the Lions at Lambeau Field, then came back and beat the Lions on Thanksgiving at their place pretty handily. Just like last night's game, the final score of that game on Thanksgiving last year, 29-22, was not indicative of how lopsided that game actually was.
Good point, yeah.
And this year, after this loss, the Packers were 6-3. At this point last year, entering the deadline, Packers were 2-5. Like, the Packers are in a much better spot this year. But all I'm saying is what gives you pause a little bit is that you could argue the Packers have lost to the 3 best teams they've played. They've beaten the Texans and the Cardinals, 2 division leaders, but they've also lost to the Eagles, the Vikings, and the Lions, 0-2 in the division, not great. And then all I'm saying with the self-inflicted wounds is, yes, if the Packers played a good game, they would have won. But all these ifs and what ifs only mean so much if you're able to correct them over the long term. And through the first 9 games, the Packers have not been able to. Still a lot of football left. Could the Packers win the division? Sure. Is it unlikely? Yeah. But we saw last year that the Packers can turn a season that looked like it was going to end in a top 5 draft pick maybe into one where they were a quarter away from making the NFC Championship game. They're in a much better spot this year, and that's worth recognizing, but there's still reason for pause.
Matt, through 9 games last year, Jordan Love touchdowns and interceptions almost identical. Packers record 3-6. That's the difference. They're 6-3 this year with nearly the same touchdown interception ratio for Jordan Love. It's about a growing process. How much do you feel? Because everybody expected the last 8 games to be what Jordan Love was. And we talk all the time. The NFL season's about development now. How much do you feel the development or lack of consistent development for Jordan Love because of the injuries has affected the way that he's played?
I would say a little bit, probably more than he's letting on, probably more than we assume on the surface. But at the same time, you got to be smarter with the ball. And like we said, the process is there, the results are not. I think, when I said a couple weeks ago and wrote the big story on Jordan Love has to stay aggressive. He should not scale it back. His aggressiveness is helping the Packers more than it's hurting them. I'm not going to sit here 2 weeks later and say, oh, he needs to scale it back just because he threw another pick 6. It's about the process. The process is there. The execution is not. At the same time, you got to fine tune it a little bit. Like, I don't know what you do differently on the check down to Josh Jacobs. That's the right decision. Sure, you could throw it away.
Better. Yeah.
You just got to execute it better. And all you need to do, like, how do you execute better? You just execute better. Like you don't make a different decision. So I think people who are saying, oh, it was a mistake to pay him, relax. We saw it in the first half of last season, I throw away. That was everybody had no idea what they were doing on this offense. Second half of last season, we saw arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. First half of this season, we see a guy that more than half the teams in this league would take as their starting quarterback, but a one for a team with Super Bowl aspirations needs to be better. What are we going to get in this third 8-game stretch, the second half of last season? Will it tell the story of who Jordan Love is going to be for the next 10 years? No, of course not. But I think it's telling, or it will be telling, I should say, what we're going to get from Jordan Love over this next sample size. We saw last year how he can be a vastly different quarterback the second half of the season. He needs to be a vastly different quarterback in terms of protecting the football and executing better, not making better decisions, but executing better for the Packers to have a chance at a Super Bowl they rightfully have a chance at.
Yeah, that one yesterday, he can't make it. Like there's too many. There's enough opportunities. That one in the LA game, good learning experiences to know. Those are just plays you just can't make. Packers right now at Potawatomi Sportsbook, minus 200 to make the playoffs.
As they should be.
So I mean, like that's I think that's kind of low, right? Like I think those are decent odds. Like if you think that they're going to the playoffs, that's not a bad bet. I think those are probably the better value that you're going to get. Yeah. Because the NFC is crowded. However, they're now 9-1 to win the division. It is a massive uphill battle. However, Matt said it last night on the post-game show. Don't necessarily know that it's a bad thing if this team goes and plays somewhere indoors in the playoffs, because and you mentioned it into last year, you could very easily, I think, draw the line of demarcation into the flip of Jordan Love into that fourth quarter of the San Francisco 49ers playoff game, in which you throw 2 picks into the fourth quarter, and ever since then, it's been a struggle bus, and that one was outdoors. Like I wonder how that changes. Of you go from, like you said, maybe the best quarterback in football to sense those 2 picks and one in the rain where he's trying to make a hero ball move, regressing a little bit to last year at Utah State.
But you guys know where they're going to play in the first round of the playoffs, right?
Arizona?
No, you just got to accept it now. They're going at Santa Clara in the 5-4 game in the first round of the playoffs. That's just what it is.
I thought you were going to say Minnesota.
No, it's going to be the 4-5 game. The 49ers are going to get it together. Yeah. The Packers are going to finish 11-6 and get the 5. And then they're going to go to Santa Clara.
The Falcons are going to be the 3 seed? That's what you're calling?
Yeah, the NFC North is horrible.
No,
NFC South, yeah.
South.
Okay.
NFC
West,
South.
West,
that's what
yeah.
I'm
West,
saying.
West, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Buccaneers aren't terrible, but
Well, let's
Not
see.
fair. They
There's a
lost
lot of-
both their wide receivers, and a lot of
Falcons
teams
are a good
fired their
team.
coach. Yeah.
The Falcons have won some really.
Mike
tight
McCarthy is
games.
going to be playing golf at Green Bay Country Club in a couple weeks, probably.
Weather's gonna be that good.
He's not getting fired before the end of the year.
Yeah.
He's
Did you not
gonna-
hear
he's
what
gonna play
your
this thing out.
Diana
He's gonna-
Rossini said?
Okay.
Jerry Jones said it to her
And
face,
he's not
Matt.
gonna golf if he is.
Show it to her face. I'm not
They
firing
might
him in
even,
season.
they even did it with Jason Garrett one year. They might even re-sign him after the year. You never know. But the Packers they did it with Jason Garrett one year. Blew my damn mind. $13 million in cap space right now for this Packer team. This year. Do we get an edge rusher or do we get a cornerback? Or could we get both?
John, you've been around here longer
Golly.
than anyone. You know how this team operates at the deadline. In free agency, if they have spending room under Goody, they've made big moves. The first offseason, second offseason he was here. First offseason I was here.
Mm-hmm.
The Smiths, Adrian Amos, Billy Turner. This offseason, Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney. The best player on each side of the ball for them this year. In season, though, nothing's happened. In season is a different story, I think. So I'm just trained and drilled and beaten to a pulp to expect the Packers not to do anything. But who knows? I've seen the unexpected before. Do they need a pass rusher? Yes. Do they need a cornerback? Yes. Are they going to get one? Whether or not Goody feels a guy is worth certain draft. I am also of the belief that teams value draft picks way too much. Look at what some of these guys are going. Josh Uche was just traded. He's the Patriots' best pass rusher. He was just traded to the Chiefs for a 6th-round pick. That guy is guaranteed to have at least 2 sacks in the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. Can I ask you something? I think the NFL and the NFLPA need to address something. For drafted players, I understand compensatory picks. I do not, for the life of me, understand why if you trade for a player at the trade deadline, you can get the exact value that you traded for him back as a compensatory pick if he leaves in free agency. I think that's a huge problem that the NFL has. I think it slides the scale a little bit more to the haves and the have-nots. And I think if a team like the Chiefs or a team like the Lions or somebody wants to go all in on a season, well, damn it, go all in, spend on a player. And if you don't resign me, he leaves in free agency, that's your price to pay for going all in. Drafted players, yes. But when you do these trades like this, it just makes no sense to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think I agree with you. I have no rebuttal, nothing to add there. But what I'm saying is that
was weird.
This is a rare moment. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, the point I was making. What did you say?
I said a butterfly just grew its wings.
The point I was making.
Sorry, go.
Was that I think teams value draft picks way too much. Players that are really good and proven and can help you now don't go for anything. Like, what did DeAndre Hopkins just go for? He's going to have a touchdown catch in the Super Bowl.
5th, right?
Exactly. Like, teams bank on the unknown and don't value the proven enough. Now, I understand there's a financial aspect to it that guys would be on rookie contracts, and that's part of the reason why I don't think the Packers ultimately make a move. Who knows if they're in on Marshawn Lattimore? Who knows if they're in on Azeez Ojulari? But those two guys would really help this team.
Yes and yes.
Well, I want Sexy Bexy.
This is kind of my...
Just so I can say the name.
That ain't happening.
Just so I can say the name.
This is kind of my thought, Matt. Just like not all drops are created equal, not all interceptions are created equal, not all trade deadlines are created equal. It's like the Packers...
Especially one in an election year.
Packers going out and getting a wide receiver.
Who are you guys all voting for, by the way?
I'm voting yes on the Whitnell referendum. I appreciate you mentioning that. Thank you.
Let's go.
$79.1 million. Get a new training facility, new pool. Kids deserve it. Kids deserve it.
Let's
That
go.
pool was old when I was swimming in it, John. Sorry, go ahead.
Wait, there's an election? I missed it. I seem to think that this year it's different than what it has been in past years. Now, maybe not like if you look back at 2020 or maybe even 2021, but I feel like this year there's a little bit of, hey, we can do this, we can go all the way. But you got a team that you just played at home that beat you up, and you know they are looking. Everybody knows they are looking to add to their team, specifically at pass rusher. I mean, not just adding to your team, but taking away from what they could potentially get. Could you imagine if the Packers took Azeez Ojulari and then that forced the Lions to take Zadarius Smith. Oh my gosh, did we just push them into a bad spot? I'm just saying, it could work out beautifully that way.
I like how Zadarius Smith is, I know there were reports out there that he's going to be traded to the Lions. That's been like the heaviest linked one near the deadline. I like how Zadarius Smith came out and said he wants to go to the Lions so he can play the Packers and Vikings. Like, he wanted to go to the Vikings to play the Packers. He wanted to go to the Lions to play the Vikings and the Packers. Like,
next year he's a Bear, so he can play all three.
This guy's just a piece of work.
Some guys just like to have someone to be mad at. Some guys want that edge. They just want to have someone.
That's
to be
my
mad
roulette
at.
buddy. I don't know. You guys keep hating on him like that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
It's my guy. We were playing video roulette at Potawatomi Casino one time together. It was pretty electrifying day, Matt. He was betting quite a bit more than I was. If you were surprised by any of that information,
I'm not surprised.
He was probably mad at the red pieces when they didn't go red, and he's probably like, I want to play against the red.
He was
pieces.
betting numbers. Yeah,
okay.
he was betting numbers. Yeah. So when that 10 didn't pop up, he was like, screw that 10. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
877-794-1973 is the NicoletLaw.com talking text line. We're going to get back to that. We're going to say goodbye to Matt Steinman. Matt, great work today. Take a much needed day after talking to Matt LaFleur, getting all those questions that you have answered, write a bunch of good stories, and then take a day because we're going to enjoy Badgers and Holy Cross. We'll talk and hear you tomorrow.
My story today, I would like to know if you guys think this is a good idea. Why the Packers, after their strategy last season, and I'm going to ask Matt LaFleur about it.
Great one.
Choosing to receive after winning the toss.
I love this because we're the editors now. I love this. I think it's a good story because
especially when it doesn't work.
I think it's something people haven't talked about yet. This is against industry standard. The whole defer thing has been industry standard in the NFL for 10, 15 years. And now we're taking the ball again. So I think it's a really interesting article.
Drew Olson was wondering if anybody was going to ask Matt LaFleur about that today, and now we just got our answer. Somebody is. I thought your story was going to be on who you're voting for tomorrow, but we'll wait for that one coming up tomorrow.
I already voted, so I won't be voting tomorrow.
Where's your sticker? If you don't have a sticker.
No, I figured you were just publishing your story tomorrow as to who you voted for. But you know what? We'll wait for that one coming up at Match Nyman.
That I like taking the ball, and I loved the first drive that took 8 minutes off the clock. I would have loved the touchdown, but 8 minutes off the clock and 3 points. That's winning football.
The thought is there. Again, I'm fine with taking the ball. It's, again, process over results. But at some point, the results have to be there.
Yeah, it does. And I also like, John, you bringing it back to sports. Good on you. I appreciate somebody being able to.
I would have voted for RFK if Rodgers was his VP, just so I could text the VP suggestions all the time.
There you go. Hey, I don't blame you.
All right. See you guys later.
See you, bud. There you go. That's bad.
Cool, right? I mean, hey. Sometimes it's cool.
It just goes to show he doesn't value his vote one bit.
No, he does, but he values his vote in the vehicle of him feeling cool, which I don't blame him.
That is true. That is true. Hey, it's your truth. It's your truth.
If voting assets here. Voting assets matter.
If one of you guys ran for president, I'd vote for you.
I can't. Just write me in, Armin. Just write me in.
I can't this year or next one. I got to wait for 2 cycles to be able to run for president.
Yeah. I'm over 35.
Quite pissed about it. I want to put my hat in the ring. I don't have any money to spend on a campaign, so I'm not going to have any.
Write me in, Armin, just make sure you put 6 shoes in it.
Listen, I will. I'll put John Kuhn.
Or don't spell it like buddy that tweeted at me last night that spelled Jon Kuhn. He was very upset. John Kuhn with no H was very upset with our coverage of the Green Bay Packers yesterday.
Does he was upset with me?
No, he was upset with me. Upset with me being too positive on the post.
My dad wanted to know. Sorry, go ahead, John.
But I don't know what the people that spell my name Jon or JHON. I'm like, what?
Jahan?
Yeah.
Sean.
I never heard of that.
I mean, I get it. People spell their name that way.
Yeah. It's like people that spell my name like Billie Eilish. There's a clear issue
Billie
here.
Holiday. Vote for Jahan Kuhn from York, PA.
I'm convinced nobody knows how to spell names anymore.
No.
People just started spelling them irrationally.
Wait till you see the way they spell my name. Okay.
Arman.
We want to give Armin the leadership award for JV tennis, and it's wrong on their certificate. You love my leadership so much.
I thought Coach. It was Aaron Sarian back in our network studios.
Don't do that to Wayne.
It is Aaron.
Don't do that to Wayne.
Aaron Sarian's right there. John Kuhn's right there. I'm Billy Schmidt. It's 9 to noon on the game.
John Kuhner for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And boy, do we love birthdays at 9 to noon, especially those milestone birthdays. So does Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. And we got a big one for you here because Gina Deller herself, she's turning 60. Yep, the big 6-0. And to commemorate that, Pella Windows and Doors is offering 0% interest for 60 months. That's 5 years, no interest financing for Gina Della's birthday. But you got to hurry on this one. It's only available until November the 8th, only a few more days. Get the look you want for your home with customizable windows and doors from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. How about these features? Shades between the glass, innovative roll screens, noise reduction. You can't get any better, and you can count on durability because they open and close doors, latches, shades thousands of times to ensure that they will last for years to come. Other offerings include fold-away hardware, custom colors, and ease of maintenance because honestly, who's got time to deal with any of that? And you can get all of it for 5 years, no interest financing if you order before November the 8th. So hurry, certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. And when you go in, let Gina Della know that John Kuhn and the boys from 9 to Noon say happy birthday. Visit PellaWI.com today.
9 to noon on the game inside the Iron Jock Studios. Just had a rambunctious conversation with our guy, Matt Schneidman. Always fun, always informative. John, you had a point of contention in that I thought was wanted to get back to, but there was going to be a lot of conversation. Then Matt brought up, who everyone's voting for. So then we had to get to a break before anything got too toxic on this radio program. But you mentioned the qualifying offer or the compensatory pick that you're able to get in the NFL and the potential change that could come to it. That's fascinating to me. So if you acquire a player, I just wanted to make sure that I heard this correctly. So if you acquire a player, you can still get the compensatory pick when that player leaves in free agency. That's wild because that's completely different than it is in baseball, where if the player's not with you from opening day to the postseason, you're unable to get the qualifying offer and unable to recoup that draft capital.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it midseason. Now, again, I'm a reasonable person. Mm-hmm. So if you want to say a player that was traded in the offseason and spent an entire season with you and doesn't resign, you got a full year to try and resign. I can understand that. I'm specifically talking about moves that were made now during this season, like the Kansas City Chiefs. They're grabbing multiple players for 5th and 6th round picks, and they're going to get all of those picks back if these guys leave in free agency. Nearly every single one. And I think that is a rich get richer type of loophole that a lot of teams are in right now. Now, I fully condone teams that draft well and can't re-sign all of their draft picks because they continually draft well, and you can't re-sign everybody because not everybody's going to be, a star for you. I mean, they might be starters, but you can only re-sign so many. So those players leave and you get compensatory picks for them. I completely agree with that, and I think that makes sense. But specifically in-season trades before the trade deadline, getting compensatory picks that sometimes turn out better than the picks that they traded away.
You could win. So it was a 5th turns into a 4th for Cam Robinson. He was traded from the Jags to the Vikings on Tuesday. Homie starts last night and plays well on Sunday Night Football, had a holding penalty, but one game, 5 days plays for a new team. And John, for a starting left tackle, he leaves in free agency at the end of the year because he's in a walk year. I believe he was franchise tagged by the Jags this year. They could end up with a better pick than the one that they send to the Jags. That is wild to me. I'm hand raised in air. I was not aware of that game. Would incentivize even more teams now to be more aggressive here at the trade deadline. No?
Yeah. Now, yes, 100%. And I think that's why you see a bunch of moves, because that loophole started getting played probably like 4 or 5 years ago. And then everybody said, well, if he's doing it, why am I not doing it?
Yeah.
You only got to pay for half a season. And then I get the draft pick back that I traded for, sometimes a better draft pick. Yeah, I'm going to do that, especially when you got teams that are just looking to get anything for a player, which also doesn't make sense because if he leaves your team in free agency, you get that same compensatory pick. It baffles me. It blows me away that the NFL allows it to happen. Now, my point of view is not shared unanimously around the league. Talking with TJ Lang yesterday before the game, we were both talking about, could we potentially be making moves? I was talking about what they were doing, and he was talking about what we were doing. And he's like, well, why wouldn't we just, go out and listen? I'm going to tell you right now, there is all kinds of people calling the Giants for their rush end. All kinds of teams.
Ojulari is going to get moved here in the next 36 hours. All kinds
of teams are all over this guy right now. And I think the Packers and Lions right now are at a standoff over this guy. It's just a feeling. I got this off of no source, just a feeling that I have. I feel like there's a standoff on this guy. And, TJ's like, well, why wouldn't we do it? We just do it. It's great. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like it. I think it's a way that teams can fix holes in their roster without actually having to pay for it, right? Without actually
absolutely.
And to me, man, that's not what the basis of football is. Availability, the number one ability. You lost a player to injury, that sucks. Now pay to get something to fill that spot. Not trade off draft picks, but pay for it.
Well, and I like that part of, I actually like that part of your argument. That was not what I thought. I thought you were going to say more of it's just going to continue to allow the rich to get richer towards the end of the year. And to that part, I bet the NFL's like, yeah, if we upset a couple of folks for that, we apologize. But we want the better teams to get better right towards the end of the year.
That's exactly what they want, because they don't want the Lions going into the playoffs as good as they are if they don't have somebody that can rush Brock Purdy in a divisional round. They
Mhm.
want to see these teams get bolstered so that they have the best football at the end of the year. And to some extent, that is tilting the scales so that the better teams get rewarded.
It's why they pushed this trade deadline back. I think it used to be week 7. Now it's at the end of week 9. I wouldn't be surprised if they move it back next year again to try to continue to incentivize more moves, because I think they want it. I think they want more teams realizing, like the New Orleans Saints did today when they fired Dennis Allen. Hey, man, we're out of this thing. We're going to ship off some of our guys, get a little draft capital back, and make some news and make some waves around the NFL. Fascinating part of it. We'll get to more around the NFL when we continue on. We got our picks, and you bet we gave them on Friday. We'll see where we're at, see where you are, and already lean into week 10 in the NFL. It's a beautiful bye week for the Packers, but a beautiful week to invest. We're back before then on 9 to noon with Kuhn, Billy, and Armin on the Game. Welcome back to the game. We got our investment hour coming up in about 15 minutes from right now. We'll head to the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and our guy Armin Sarian is salivating to get to the Potawatomi Sportsbook for college basketball.
College basketball's back. Yes, college basketball's back. Lipscomb, guys. Look out for Lipscomb on the
here we
spread. Go. I don't really know. I've just made that up. I've not checked out the matchup yet.
Are they even playing tonight?
Well, they are playing. I just don't know if it's a good bet. You know,
Who are they playing?
Don't know. Let's
come on. Throws the name out there with no clue.
I not checked Ken Palm yet. Okay,
he knows they're playing. Doesn't know who they're playing. Doesn't know the spread. All right, so
doesn't matter. He's taking them.
let's pick out of these three hot topics. Then number one, what happened to touchdown celebrations that now everybody wants to do a headstand? Like a headstand. A headstand's where we're going now. Multiple headstands this weekend, starting in the college game, then two in the NFL. We can go there, or we can go the gold package tickets.
I can tell you, I definitely don't want to go there. I like the headstands even better than that.
What are you gonna do to me on the gold package? I gotta be the one to defend Milwaukee all the time.
Since we're talking fans, and the bigger disappointment, the game yesterday or fans' reaction to the game.
I like that actually a lot. I'll let Billy.
Those three topics. Which one?
I'll let Billy take this. Whatever you want, Billy. We can do the heads. Whatever you want.
No, I'm a little confused. It's just there's a lot there. I'm a little concerned or confused as to what the thought was going into the game. Right? If you lose the game, there is going to be some concern to it. There is going to be some frustration to it. Doing post game, we get all the reaction. So we get any bit of reaction that you possibly could get. When I got told, John, that they need to bring in some veteran players because that's how they're going to stop with the penalties, that to me was maybe the crazier discourse that I was able to get for the game. What about you?
I anticipate every fan base to be like this, but the Packer fan base, after being 6-3 at this point in the season, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that a lot of people feel like this team can't get better and can't make a run at the end of the season. When we just saw a magical run by a team last year, magical run all the way to the end of a divisional round game, almost pulled that one off. Didn't understand that. And this team right here has started better, has played better through 9 games than what it has last year. But this fan base feels like it is unhinged. Like it can't take the fact that the Packers lost to a very good team yesterday. I think yesterday's game, the thing that was most disappointing to me, more disappointing than anything else, is that the Packers got outplayed in a game where they should have had all the wherewithal, all the know-how to go about playing in those elements. I felt like the Packers were outplayed in their elements. They should be their elements. And now a serious question needs to be asked. Is this Packer team built for these elements? Because we are being told that this Packers team is built for these elements. That's why we got Josh Jacobs. That's why we put so much, thought into our tight ends being able to block. That's why we, have an offensive line geared around, getting the tough yards. But are we really building a team for these elements?
Well, I don't think they have for a while, Armin.
Well, maybe not. I mean, obviously under Aaron, right? Our best asset was passing the ball. Doesn't mean that we couldn't run the ball either. Being built for these elements. Okay, well, let's establish first, what does that mean? Being able to run the ball? I mean, the Packers ran the ball great yesterday. I mean, they averaged 6 yards, 6.6 yards, 6 yards a carry. Okay, 138 yards on 23 rushes. The Packers ran the ball. They outgained the Lions by 150 yards. They made critical mistakes and didn't make plays in the most important parts of the game. Is that because they weren't ready for the elements? They weren't built for the elements? I'm not really sure how to answer that question.
Because there's two things to home field advantage, Armin. There's the elements, and then there's the fans. And Wayne said on the broadcast yesterday, it looked like it was 30% Lions fans there.
Yeah, part of that was because they stayed later, right? And I guess you could say
that's for sure.
That's a down on the Packer fans to not stick with your team. I mean, you're going to the ball game. Yes, your team's losing. Yes, the conditions are miserable. I'd like you to try and stay all the way. Now, I'm not telling you what to do. It's a Milwaukee Package. It's a night game.
Get out of here with that.
But I understand it. So I understand it. But I think that
Are you kidding me?
No, my point was originally I understand why it looked that way because I think fans left. No, I'm not kidding.
Down 3 scores with 8 minutes to go in the driving rainstorm. Yeah, let's make sure that we stick to
the Lions fans stuck it out.
Double up your punches.
Lions fans stuck it out. Obviously, when you're winning, it's more fun. So I didn't get the sense starting the game though that there was a lot like last year. We felt that Honolulu Blue thing was overwhelming, right? I didn't feel that yesterday. From what I could tell, from what I heard,
there were a decent amount in there. They were there, no doubt.
Yeah. So we just accept it now. We just accepted it now as a part of.
That's kind of what sports is.
You're right. You're right about that. There is
good teams a lot of times travel.
Oh yeah.
Have you watched a Kansas City Chiefs game on the road and seen that place not be 35% Chiefs fans?
Packers at a lot of stadiums.
Yeah,
Packers
a lot of stadiums.
Yeah, Packers take over a lot of stadiums, but it's just surprising that we take over a lot of stadiums. We got 130K on a wait list, and our stadium is getting engulfed.
And we've been through this, but wait list to do what? To go to games or to give yourself a chance at a commodity to make money? I mean, I hate to say it, but we've been through this a lot. We've talked about it. I think a lot of fans say, you know what? If I could get some of my games in, then sell the rest and pay for my tickets, that'd be great. Well, it was great. It was great for the Lions yesterday. Now, that being said, if your team plays better, your fans aren't going to. Billy hates when I do this.
Lipscomb plus 5.5 tonight at Duquesne.
Yeah.
Oh,
if you're wondering. Okay. Yeah, if you're wondering.
Yeah, I like that. I like that line. You don't want to talk?
No, I mean,
done,
listen, I don't care. Like we can, but like there's only so much more to it.
You're right.
We can continue to beat it around like a dead horse, like we have.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not the zest for, that might be the wrong word, but the allure to any professional game. The availability is there for every game. The thought that this is going to be like a college stadium where it's going to still be 97% Georgia fans at Sanford Stadium, that's not the case in any professional environment.
I think you're absolutely right. I think you are. I mean, if people have money and they want to spend it, they can get to any game, right? The availability will be there. So I agree with you on that. Maybe that's just all.
I don't even know that you have to have crazy amounts of money, though, because you go on the secondary ticket market and there's a bunch of secondary tickets for every Packers game on the secondary market.
Yeah. Yes. I agree.
It happens when the games are drivable, that generally a lot more people will end up being there.
And they have a passion to go because their team's good.
Could be a part of it. 877-794-1973. We've had a caller waiting here, Chad in Chippewa Falls, that we've been trying to get to. He is up on the NicolayLaw.com talking text line. Chad, what's on your mind, man?
Hey, guys. I was just curious. I've always been a football fan and never really understood when it comes to the kickoff, why don't the NFL give the home team an option instead of a coin flip to receive or kick, being they are the home team? I know not all sports do that, but obviously baseball, they last bat, try to win the game. Hockey, I know it's a drop of the puck, but the home team gets to put the skaters they want out there last. It's just something I've always thought.
Thanks for the call.
No coin flip anymore. Chad wants the coin flip out of there.
We can't get rid of the coin flip.
I don't understand why would you do that?
Okay, we got rid of hitting quarterbacks. We got rid of hitting wide receivers. We got rid of the kickoff. We can't get rid of the coin flip. It's the last sacred thing that we have in the NFL. Heck, now we do headstands after touchdowns instead of just spiking the football and hugging our teammates. Now we're doing headstand planks. Headstand planks. That's what we're doing now for celebrations. And I don't know. Was it awesome or was it weird? Like, what is next? Are we going to do full break dancing? Oh, that's been done too. I don't know what's left. I don't know what in the world is left to do. That is the last thing I thought I'd ever see was a headstand. Is there something that can be new, creative, innovative, and shock the world as a touchdown celebration, Billy?
Oh, absolutely. They'll find something. Amon-Ra St. Brown will find something. I mean, that Joker will find something to do, and he scores enough touchdowns to be able to do it. I just can't believe you sit on hold that long to be able to ask that stupid question. I mean, we're really waiting for that. Are we getting rid of the coin toss?
No,
Nooners, hour 3, we got to get better. 877-794-1973. And we got some good text to get in here. We got caller number 3 coming up for You Better You Bet. That is next right here on 9 to noon. Stay wide on the game. Jeez Louise. 9 to noon on the game. Hour 3, our best one of the day. Was that uncalled for?
Are you talking about
my reaction at the end of hour 2?
You talking about
John Kuhn? I'm sorry. Yeah. Because
I would say no. Like asking the NFL to go away from the coin flip, or just implying that we shouldn't be doing the coin flip anymore before the game is like, I don't. It's like asking Dairy Queen to stop selling ice cream.
Thank you. Yeah. Well,
it's not the same.
Not
as
the
that.
right.
What do
Not
you mean? Dairy Queen still makes cheeseburgers and chicken tenders
and good hot dogs too.
Those are good. I've had one.
Good
of
hot
those.
dogs
Those
too.
are good.
But what are they? But they are a Dairy Queen. You
give me a damn cone.
Dairy Queen ice cream.
Yes.
Football coin flip. I just.
What are we going to bet on to start the Super Bowl?
That's a great point.
It's got to be the first win that you get on the Super Bowl bet.
No,
However,
national anthem length. But that's been taken off.
Fair.
That's been taken off the board a lot because people hear the rehearsal and then they tweet out the rehearsal.
Well, Mark didn't like it. At Ellison Mark, at Bill Schmid Radio. Really, Bill? You just took a call, and when the guy hung up, you said, we really didn't need that stupid question. Classy move, Ace. The guy made a fair argument regarding getting rid of the coin toss. Totally uncalled for. Okay, so if more people are saying that they need to talk about the coin toss, John, I was with you. I didn't think there would any way that we would get rid of the coin toss.
Actually, I'll say this.
What is the argument?
He didn't make an argument, actually. He just said, why do we have it?
That's fair.
I'll say that. I wouldn't say,
now,
yeah. I'm like,
but now we're starting to get comparable questions with removing the coin flip, because Kyle Antosa says, should we get away from players wearing cleats with 12 studs on them and only allow 10 studs? Thanks in advance.
Wow.
Well, I mean, yesterday they were wearing 7 studs. So, I mean, that's less than 10.
Is there a rule, though? How many studs you can have on the cleat?
Well, if they're screw-ins, they only do 7.
Yeah, they only do a certain amount.
Well, can't they build new shoes with new screw-ins?
I don't know. You're the LA Gear guy. Why
Right.
don't you call the guys there and see if they want to start manufacturing NFL cleats and get into the game?
The only cleats I had were the discount ones, okay? The rubber ones for baseball. No, I don't. Billy, I would say this. If Chad knows our show and listens to the show, he knows it's not that serious of like, that's a stupid question. You might bust with your buddies, right? And say that stuff. So I think it's, but maybe
we love Chad.
I just didn't understand the context.
We just got to be better.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was.
Tyson and Zilla Washington said,
Here we go.
If we're getting rid of the coin flip, can we get rid of the national anthem too? I mean, this is how crazy it goes. Yeah.
What why are we going down these roads?
I'll get rid of something, and I understand and I appreciate it, but it scares the hell out of me just about every single game. Can we get rid of the hour before game fireworks at Lambeau Field?
Oh, those. Okay.
Because every single time I'm never ready for it. And I almost spill something on myself every single time. Yesterday was my coffee almost right down my shirt. Cause boom.
Damn, dude. Okay. You guys want to keep, you got to getting rid of all this stuff.
Apparently we're getting rid of some stuff.
I mean, what, you guys getting rid of the third down? Let's get loud. Or
Joe from Hartford. I stand with Billy. Dumb questions should get repped. Well, I appreciate it. I didn't want to make sure that we were being too unfair because our nooners are the lifeblood of this radio show. We appreciate all of you very, very much.
I would have wanted to know why he thought it was a good idea more than just asking it. Then I would have said, okay, give me your logic behind it. Show me your work. What's the reason?
Oh, Chad and Merrill, get rid of flyovers.
No, we're not getting rid of any of these. Hey. We're not getting rid of the national anthem. We're not getting rid of the coin flip, and we're not getting rid of flyovers.
Why don't you get rid of food and drinks at the game too?
Everybody. Player introductions. Hey, let's get rid of them.
We don't need those. Introduce yourself as a team.
Get rid of seats. Everyone,
But we already did that at Lambeau.
Stop playing music at the stadium.
I did see someone on Twitter say they should stop putting heat in the atrium. So then people don't leave their seats and they stay at the game. They stay in the bowl. Now that's a little extreme. Now, what do you guys think about that? On bad weather days, don't put heat in the atrium. Someone said there's no more heat in the atrium, so people don't leave their seats.
That would be rude. That would be
okay.
Cruel.
I haven't been to a game in years.
The coin flip would be a bad idea to get rid of. What would be another terrible idea to get rid of? I agree. Flyovers would be terrible to get rid of. National anthem would be awful to get rid of. Do we have ushers walk in the stands again selling beers and peanuts?
I don't go.
I heard that came back.
There's not a ton, but I do believe there are some. Most importantly, John, them steps that's a brutal run if you're walking up there with all them beers. So I think that's kind of why some of that cut off.
But I mean, feat
of athleticism.
But we're talking about, I mean, people caddy at Aaron Hills. That's a lot of walking. That's a lot of uphill down.
Yeah, it is.
They get more. They get better tips than the guys selling the beers probably at the game.
Do you think?
I don't know with the card deal.
No.
I think the tips went way up with the card deal.
Good point. That's true. Probably.
I think Aaron Hills makes less than your average beer sales at a professional sport. I do.
I'd be with you on that.
Well, you don't do. Hold on. Does the guy selling beer get commission per beer? How does that work? I mean, the Packers might sell more beer, yes, but I don't think the guy working it makes more money. He probably makes an hourly rate plus tips. We got to have some beer vendors that can tell us.
We got plenty of beer
haven't-
vendors on the talking text line that can
Other
help us
than
out with
that, I
Yeah,
can
no doubt about it.
offer zero insight because I haven't been to a game in Lambeau in forever. So
That's
I don't
fair.
know.
I got one. Let's get rid of holding penalties. No one needs to see holding penalties on the offensive line.
Yes, that's a great call.
Thank you.
No one. Let's get rid of personal foul penalties too.
I'd be
Let's
down
just
with
let
that,
them
too.
crush each other like they used to.
And taunting, no longer a thing. Talk the smack you want, as long as you are ready to catch it on the other side. As long as you're ready to know that if I'm going to be able to send a lot of lip service, John, over to that sideline, I might get a blind side that might be popping over here onto the other side. I would appreciate that. That would be fun. Vince McMahon thought that was fun.
Let's just get rid of field goals with as many problems as teams have had with that. No more field goals. You either score a touchdown or you don't.
I'm in with that.
You know what? Everybody has the Dan Campbell philosophy. Go for it every fourth down.
What's the biggest waste of a spot on the team? Punter. Don't punt. No punting.
Oh, don't disrespect Daniel Whelan, the weapon like
no
that.
punting.
Oh, come on. We got to have. So you're just saying go for it all the time on fourth down, no kicking or punting.
You already know I hate Iowa, so the Hawkeye fans are very upset with that development of football.
Get rid of hash marks then at that point. Why don't you just get rid of everything? Why don't you invent a new sport? How about that?
414 Armin, I didn't know you were texting without your name on here. Get rid of the wave.
Well, that's an easy one. That's an easy.
That's an
Actually,
easy one.
waves at football games, I'll admit, are better because it's at Lambeau because it's one bowl, and the Camp Randall to some extent because it's mostly one bowl, and the wave looks cooler at that. But I still don't like it.
Branson in the 262. Let's get rid of tips. I already pay enough for these beers and hot dogs.
That's a holy. Now society. What do we get rid of in society? What do we get rid of in society? Okay, let's go. Okay, delivery. Okay.
That could be a dangerous thing a day away from the election.
Credit card surcharge. Yeah, tipping. How about that?
Political TV ads.
Do you think of all the industries getting tipped? We don't have much time here. All right, I'm not going to get into this.
Get rid of instant replay. Joe and Green Bay with the Zabe take right away.
Are we sure? Yeah, that's Zabe.
That's got to be Zabe. That's a tough one yesterday, John. I don't know if you went back and saw the Philadelphia Eagles debacle as to what happened in that game. They're up 22-0. They almost end up losing. Trevor Lawrence has a chance to go score a touchdown to take the lead in the final minute. There's a fumble by Saquon Barkley that gets not just upheld, confirmed. I mean, scoop and score with Trayvon Walker. Replay. Tough weekend this week in the NFL.
So an instance, I believe, in the Bills-Dolphins game where they allowed the Bills center to spot the ball or maybe the tight end to spot the ball without the ref doing the Dak Prescott bump you out of the way, knock the center over, let me spot the ball. Oh, wait, time ran out. Like, I think that happened too.
Yep.
Are people people prepared for the fact that referees are human beings too, and they make mistakes that can potentially win you a game or lose you a game? I don't think people like to be able to handle that.
No. They do not like that. They want there to be a reason why this all happens, and we can change that. We can change the issue. We can change the situation if we don't like it. The officials are going to make mistakes. However, yesterday, the biggest call of the game, I don't think it was a massive mistake. We talked a little bit about it, the Brian Branch situation. We're going to get to You Better You Bet here coming up. We'll talk a lot more about how the ejection comes in. By the letter of the law, though, John, if indeed they believe that an ejection comes because there's plenty of space and time, man, Brian Branch had plenty of time to be able to back up. Bo Melton said he's playing the ball. I don't have any ill will for him. But that was a hell of a 1980s play by Brian Branch there on the Detroit Lions yesterday.
Yeah, it was. And it's so tough because you're running at 20 miles an hour and you're going down to hit a guy who's also going down. And man, if you strike him a little bit lower, it's no harm, no foul. And it's tough. It's hard to play defense in the NFL. Here, I got another one for you guys.
Big time.
Let's get rid of flags and let's just make it like the goal in hockey. There's a flag, they press a button.
A red light.
Just spins around. Listen, I think Wayne would like that.
Wayne would love it.
I think play-by-play announcers would like that.
Yeah.
I was listening to Paul Allen, our friend on K-Fan last night,
Yeah.
listening to the Vikings-Colts game at the end. He got messed up, John, not once but twice yesterday. Is that something yellow on the field, or is that a penalty flag? And my man just goes, right? So he's in the middle. That's a flag. There's a flag right there. There's something on the Colts. They're cheating. No, somebody's got to get rid of these yellow things on the field. They can't just be flying around. Well, I don't know. Maybe midfield is yellow right there by that big old Viking logo.
But it's hard. And when you're in that position doing that job, when you see that, he's got to do a job, and he's got to tell the people if it's a flag or not. I don't blame him. It's pretty annoying probably for Paul Allen or Wayne Larrabee.
Sushi in the Falls wants to get rid of stoppages for injuries. Like you do in high school at practice, you just, all right, move the drill up 15 yards.
Or soccer, you just move them out of there. Just get them up.
Other hash. Next hash.
Move it up 15 yards. The trainer's sitting over the guy with smelling salts. We're playing plays. It doesn't matter.
Every single week. Hey, man, level 3 of the playoffs. We got to get some work done. All right, 877-794-1973 is the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line. We are now going to step into one of our favorite places in the whole wide world, the Potawatomi Sportsbook, with Carnivore for You Better You Bet.
You better.
You better, you better, you bet.
Better.
You better, you better, you bet. Bet show live.
Yeah, you better bet. And no one's safe, as Marcus in Iowa says. This is Elimination Monday on 9 to noon. Well, it's not a Victory Chicken Monday, so we're eliminating something.
Elimination Monday.
Better watch out. Nothing is going to get eliminated off the Carnivore menu because it is elite. You got to experience it to fully believe the wine and spirits menu. Unlike any other, the best place in Milwaukee to get a domestic cut of steak, international Wagyu cuts of steak, plenty of accoutrements that you are going to absolutely love. It is an experience. It's not just a classic steakhouse. It's a classic steakhouse meeting a modern experience at Carnivore, Milwaukee's premier steakhouse for over 15 years. Go see Omar and the gang at Carnivore for your next event. We got Dan in West Penn up here ready to play You Better You Bet. We're going to go to week 10 in the NFL. No Packers going into the bye week coming up. So there's some games that could be feasted upon, and it won't involve the home team. Dan, what's your first pick going into week 10?
Well, I'd just like to say to the listeners that Dan in West Bend is elected to the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
He will make every ticket to a Packer game all inclusive. He will eliminate concessions costs.
Well, that's cool. It's a good idea, actually. All-inclusive Packer games, unlimited beer, food. What?
So every ticket is a sweep.
Souvenirs, though? What about like Pro Shop? You can't do that. That's not right.
No, I'm not going to get crazy. I'm not going to build a wall with the souvenir shop.
There you go. What's your first pick?
I got the Buccaneers. Looks like they're catching 5.5.
We got 6.5.
Tampa Bay at 6.5, hosting the San Francisco 49ers. That's going to be coming off a bye, John, for the Niners. Expectation is in the bye week, Christian McCaffrey is able to get back on the practice field, try to ramp himself up, potentially play in that game. Buccaneers will be coming off a short week, catching 6.5 at home.
Wait, he's taking the Bucks, getting these points.
Getting the 6.5 against the 49ers.
Against the 49ers coming off a bye, Bucks on a short week. No wide receivers left in sight.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck, Dan.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were clarifying all those situations because all of those are facts.
Hey.
Standing in the way of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dan is ready to go, though, for week number 10 with his second pick. What do we got?
Well, hey, at least they're not on a bye.
Correct.
True.
You are picking a team this time that's
They
not
are
on a
playing,
bye.
yep.
Dan, that's a win
happened
for you.
before. Yeah, you know what? We should just count it. Give them a win already.
Yeah, because that is a win for you, no doubt. Second pick?
I got the Commanders. I think they're turning that franchise around.
Laying 2.5 at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers will be coming off a bye. They'll be well rested at 6-2. But the Commies got a win at MetLife Stadium yesterday. Jaden Daniels looked healthier and better every single week, John. He does.
Jaden Daniels looks the part, and that's going to be a really good game out of two teams that we did not have high expectations for. Who would have thought that week 10 of the NFL season, you would be seeing the Steelers versus Commanders with a combined 4 losses? That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, that completely unforeseen. The Giants and Panthers maybe being the worst game in the NFL season, that was totally foreseen.
Yeah. What other team is coming off a bye that Dan's going to pick against here? This is really interesting strategy.
I was going to say I enjoy being able to see the system play. Dan, what's your third pick?
I'm going to take the vice president. I think him and Devontae will be more gelling by next week.
Taking the New York Football Jets, coming off their victory on Thursday Night Football. They traveled to the Arizona Cardinals. Jets catch a point. This will be in the late afternoon slate on Sunday in AZ.
Yeah, watch out for those Cardinals. They're a much different beast at home than they are on the road. And they have been doing something really interesting with Kyler Murray, a lot of under center stuff this year, which actually gets the run game going and play action going. Hey, who knew?
Who would have thought?
Kyler Murray, who I believe his first year only took like 4 snaps or 4% of his snaps, something ridiculously low under center, is now under center a boatload, and it makes their offense dynamic.
John, how mad would you have been if you were on sidelines for Bears Cardinals yesterday when you're in Arizona, State Farm Stadium, right? All good in the neighborhood, 75-degree day. And all of a sudden it's a torrential downpour in the middle of the second quarter, and they can't close the roof fast enough. It was like 10 minutes they're closing this thing, and it is just pouring in the middle of there.
They don't have weathermen or weather women.
They're like, no, don't worry about it. We'll be all good.
They didn't have Aaron Andrews making up fake alerts last night. I heard about that on Twitter. I didn't see the TV copy.
What was the alert?
She said, I guess someone, Sam Couple, one of our great weather meteorologists, said that Aaron Andrews was making up fake alerts, like there were weather alerts, but there weren't, or something like that. I don't know. I was locked into the radio broadcast, so I probably shouldn't have brought it up.
So you're just spreading misinformation on the program the next day.
No, I didn't. No, Aaron did. I'm spreading the information that you're saying I did double misinformation.
Yeah, it sounds like you doubled the misinformation.
Which makes it correct.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 2 wrongs make a right.
Yeah.
Dan and West Bend, what's your fourth pick?
Well, the Packers beat the Texans and the Lions beat the Packers, so I got to take the Lions to beat the Texans, right?
Yeah, laying 3 Sunday Night Football. Hard to say this in the game of the weekend, John, on Sunday Night Football, because C.J. Stroud and company, they get a little bit of a break, but they need a bounce back, and the Lions are rolling.
Yeah, and you're going to have a Lions team going against, Lions can't really rush the quarterback right now against the Texans team that can't really protect the quarterback right now. So you got that little dynamic going on that end. But man, it's hard not to pick the Lions after watching them the last few weeks, only have to give up 3. That seems like a very favorable line right now.
Yeah, that's a hard bet to not make. And that over might be a fun one to be able to cheer on in a sports book coming up on Sunday Night Football. Dan, what's your last pick for week number 10?
Well, I got the Broncos. I got the Broncos. I think they're catching a lot of points.
Yes, sir. 9 points against the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. Chiefs will be coming off a short week, and the Broncos won't get that bad taste out of their mouth, John, because they got their doors blown off yesterday by the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, Bo Nix came down to earth a little bit yesterday, and the Baltimore Ravens they're one of those teams in the AFC that's a wagon, so maybe just a little bit step up in class here for Denver yesterday. They're going to have to keep that step up in class because they're going to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. I know it's a short week. Chiefs defense is much better than the Ravens defense, who really had their way with Bo Nix yesterday.
Yeah, Ravens closed like the Iowa Hawkeyes yesterday, ended up finishing that game out in blowout fashion, 41-10 over the 5-4 now Denver Broncos. All right, Dan, which of those picks is your lock?
I'm going to take the Broncos, and just wondering who you guys voting for?
Voting for yes on the Whitnall referendum. Appreciate it as always. Gotta go. Yes, John. Kids need that new pool. We used to have Coach Biff was our gym coach back in the day.
That's a great gym coach name.
It was awesome,
gym
right?
Teacher name.
And he was as all gym teachers kind of need to do, right? You got to have the keys, swinging them bad boys around. Pool was not one of Biff's favorite things because not only that, you got to hand out towels after, and the pool was nasty. So you got scratchy towels, nasty pool. I'm going to get a good pool. That's what we're voting for coming up tomorrow.
I like
There's
that.
nothing else going on, is there?
No, I don't think so. I think comptrollers.
Are you kidding me, dude? It's the NFL trade deadline tomorrow.
Oh, that.
How did you miss that?
I don't know. I can't. Sometimes I can miss.
Oh, you can
know?
miss.
Yeah.
Luckily, we got somebody on the show that can't.
You like that?
Never rains at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Sportsbook. You don't have to worry about getting wet while you sit in some stadium seating for over 200 in leather couches, leather recliners, high
Went to
top
college for
tables,
this.
and a 2,000 square foot LED screen. You can see the action up close and personal. It's like going to a game without having to pay the game prices. In fact, it's absolutely free to walk into the sportsbook, sit down and watch some games. You know, if you want to play some games,
Get a
it
soda.
might cost you. But okay, here's what you can do. If you listened to me last Friday and you took the Packers-Lions shortest TD over
yeah, that's
1.5 yards, you hit.
You hit it.
Bang.
You hit because Emmanuel Wilson's
it's a 2-yarder.
touchdown was a 2-yarder, which
Yeah.
was over. So we hit on plus money last Friday, and we're
Love
going to
that
look to
bet.
hit on plus money here tonight.
Let's do that bet
Chiefs are
again.
taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we are looking at the first touchdown and a first touchdown only in the football game. If there's no touchdown, you lose. But I'm anticipating a touchdown here tonight. The Buccaneers boast the 30th ranked defense in terms of yards. And, you know, the Kansas City Chiefs offense is still 11th, even though Patrick Mahomes hasn't been, you know, what people may have thought he was going to be going into this season. They're winning football games. And the 11th ranked offense going against the 30th ranked defense is a good thing. I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs plus 138. Plus, you look on the other side of Buccaneers, a lot of injuries going against a very tough Chiefs defense, especially situationally. I'm taking the Chiefs first touchdown in the game, plus 138.
All right, Chiefs first touchdown in the game. I've got it right here. Boom. And John, if you want to sprinkle the no safety, that might bump up your number as well. But
I might actually take it down.
Yeah, actually might be worse odds at that point.
Yeah, you're probably right. All right, forget it. Chiefs first touchdown in the game.
There we go. I love that bet over at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. A lot of fun investments to be able to make. And we go through them all with you right here on 9 to noon. We'll have a full recap of week 9 in You Better You Bet coming up tomorrow when the week finishes with this Bucks and Chiefs game coming up tonight at Arrowhead. We got more coming up here. Look back at the Brian Branch situation and across the NFL. Ejections coming from New York. You like it, love it, or hate it. It's 9 to noon on the game. Yeah, I'll third that one from Wayne and Larry. Call made right here on your home for Packers football 97.3, The Game and the Game Network of stations. I'm Billy Schmid. This is 9 to noon. John Kuhn was on that call with Wayne and Larry. John, Brian Branch ejected for the play at 6:18 in the second quarter. The next almost snap ends up being a false start on Romeo Doubs. Packers end up missing a field goal on that play. Like it could have been a massive change in the game. Instead, from that point, the Lions then proceeded to go on a heck of a run where they go score 21 unanswered, and it is kind of wraps at that point until the Packers get points in the second half. But like you're trying to grab something, you're seeing the game potentially could tip right there. Packers never made the Lions pay for it, but the Brian Branch penalty and ejection is the one that's drawn a whole lot of questions. Were you as surprised with those boys yesterday that he ends up getting thrown out of the game before the second penalty that then still would have thrown him out of the game?
Yeah, I was, because we hadn't seen it yet, or at least I hadn't. If it happened in the NFL this year, I had missed it, somewhere along social media timelines or wherever you might catch that on ESPN or whatever. I hadn't seen. I'm here to believe that was the first time we have seen that new rule be implemented, that a player, in terms of targeting, can be now ejected from a football game if he targets a player's head or neck area and it's deemed that he could have changed his course or altered his course to not do that. And I think the NFL and the NFLPA will have some serious conversations about how to move forward with this, because quite frankly, it was, hey, so we're going to punish you with a penalty. Then we're going to punish you with a big significant fine. Then if you do it multiple times and you get fined multiple times, then we'll suspend you for a game after the fact, after we take a look at it. Now the clear ejection during a game, and believe me, when these things happen, you then have a reputation. And then that reputation follows you a little bit.
Get picked on,
the next one that's a little bit high could potentially turn into a penalty. Even if it's not, even if it just looks like it could potentially turn into a penalty, because you're going to get a reputation, and then could that lead to an ejection? There's going to be a lot to do here, but at the end of the day, if you're going to have ejection and you're going to have penalties, so you're going to have penalty and ejection, maybe the fines aren't so egregious. The NFL, I think the NFL has a fine problem when it comes to fining the players for performance on the field, not hysterical acts, off the field or fighting or anything like that. I'm talking about true between the lines play. I think they have a fine problem in the NFL, and I think this will play a part. These big time fines will play a part in their next negotiation.
They fine guys for trying to break tackles. Like that's a problem. You can't be fining guys for trying to break tackles. Now, last year the Packers were involved in a situation that's somewhat similar. However, Kareem Jackson, when he was ejected last year from the Packers-Broncos game, he had been flagged for a play similar earlier in the season, a couple of weeks earlier. And as John, you mentioned, he got the heavy fine, and also I believe there was a clause in there like repeat offenders will have a different punishment. He ends up getting thrown out for a hit that he hits, I want to say Romeo Doubs, but I might be mistaken, in Denver last year. He gets thrown out. He's then suspended 4 games for that hit. Now, Kareem Jackson, though, does have a longer list of these being a part of the situation. Dean Blandino yesterday on the television copy called it and said that it happened so late. This is a quote from Blandino yesterday. This happened so late that it had to have come from New York. They're looking at it. They decided that the hit raised to a level of disqualification. They're going to have to adjust the rest of the, or that was Brady. Then Blandino continued with, so we just got the clarification from the league office, and it's not about the intent. In their view, they felt like Branch had the opportunity to avoid, lower the head, led with the shoulder to the head and neck area. They felt they had that option, or that he had the option. They felt that it was flagrant, ultimately decide to eject. It wasn't the only ejection that New York had yesterday, because they then, like 6 minutes later, tossed Puka Nacua out of the game in Seattle for throwing a punch that was not seen by the officials on the field. New York radios in, says, nope, 17, throws a punch. He's out. So if that part of it is going to be a secondary governing body in New York, that I had not seen before, John, and that was different yesterday.
And that I don't like. Like, because that can be altering. So that's saying that cameras, not people on the field, because people on the field can miss things. That's what cameras are for. But then cameras, they don't see everything either that is seen on the field. So if you're seeing some things and you're altering these games and you're changing these games based off of the information that you're getting on these cameras, that I believe is not right either. I think this should be officiated by the referees. Now, I don't know if this came from New York, because it seemed like the referee that threw the flag ran in there, had a long discussion with the referee, even after the penalty was called, had a long discussion with them then to decide, and that's when it looked like it was decided. So maybe it wasn't New York in the Packers-Lions game, but if the NFL is watching from afar and then setting these judgments from afar, I don't like that either. I do not like that. I think a lot of these decisions, and you know what? The college, they let you take a look at this and see if this is targeting, and see if this, I mean, maybe the referee should have got under the booth and taken a look at this. Nonetheless, last year, Kareem Jackson, it was Luke Musgrave, and it was on the sideline. Luke Musgrave is a big guy, tall guy,
boy,
6'6", big tall guy. Kareem Jackson coming to hit him right down the middle of a 6'6" frame, and he goes down. He's falling to the ground. So now the middle of a 6'6" frame is now the top of a 6'6" falling guy, and that's where the problem occurs. This is a game played at ridiculous speeds. Kareem Jackson, could he have stopped? Yes. He could have allowed Bo Melton to make the catch. Now the ball skipped off of Bo Melton's hands, but he could have allowed Bo Melton to make the catch, pulled up, and ensured that he didn't hit him. That's taking the physicality out of the game. Again, are the decisions we're making to referee these games and to kind of regulate and legislate these games, are the decisions we're making actually making it safer? I don't think so. How many times do you see balls get thrown into these super tight spaces? They're not perfectly thrown balls, and the guys are leaning into hits, falling into hits. It's just not answering the big question, which is, how do we prevent players from falling asleep on the field?
Yes. And strangely enough, a situation happens earlier in the day where that exact situation happens, right? Like there's a flag thrown when Chris Olave is knocked unconscious on the field in Carolina earlier on. Now people were very, very questioning. Hold on, New York, what were you doing in the noon slate? Were you not watching NFL Red Zone when Scott Hansen cut in and Chris Olave is getting carted off the field, and we don't want to eject that time? So I just, there's got to be an understanding as to what exactly the clear and obvious situation is. But John, to your point, I thought it was good hearing Bo after the game. Like Bo Melton said it after the game. He's like, dude, he's trying to play the ball. I got no ill will towards him. I understand. We're playing football. It's a contact sport. And Bo Melton was fine. Like, so that's another part of there is, how do we stop, as John said, from guys falling asleep on the field?
Right.
To then also knowing that this is a collision-based sport. One of the reasons why it is the most popular one in America. And you don't want to lose some of that. I struggle to eject a guy out of the football game for it. I don't like it in college. I really don't like it in the pros. And I do think there is a massive difference between college football and professional in that standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine. Sorry, Armin.
No,
I'm perfectly fine if a player is hit in his head with a shoulder or another helmet and he hasn't made a football move yet. I'm perfectly fine if that's a penalty. That is about as black and white as you can get. Was he hit in the head? Was it with a helmet and a shoulder pad?
Yep.
And was it
the ball there?
Was it before he made a football move? Meaning catch, 2 steps, football move. If all those boxes, that is as clear as it gets. But there's so much gray area in this, and it's so tough. I mean, Brian Branch, I'm watching it right here. If he's 4 inches lower, he hits him right in the sternum. Is that any better?
Well, and at some point, John, you're also putting defensive players at more risk too, aren't you?
But I'm just saying, if he hits Bo Melton in the sternum, is he going to survive that just as easy as he survived? Like, I don't know if it's any better.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I don't know. I don't know if it's better to be knocked out or hit there. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I don't know what's better.
I think a lot of it knocked out from getting hit in the sternum, and I think that's probably why the defender wasn't kicked out in Chris Olave's case, because it looked like he did hit him a tad lower.
I think it's also based on if it's within the bounds of the game as much or not. I mean, it's not just if a guy gets hurt, if you're going to get fined and suspended and ejected. It's was it a hit that could have been avoided, or was it egregious? Was it out of the play? They determined the ball wasn't there. So
then we talk about process result. That's a different part of it.
Yeah. Again, penalty. Perfectly fine with penalty.
Yep.
I didn't think the ejection should have happened. However, that's a rule now, so you got to adjust your play. And now that this has happened with Brian Branch, every team will take this and show their defenders and emphasize, look, we can't lose you for a second half or 2.5 quarters. We need you for the entirety of these games. So they are gonna overdraw this now that we finally see this happen on the field.
And the frustrating part about it, and I keep going back to it, the Packers unable to take advantage of it. Unable to take advantage of really their best defensive player at that time out of the game for 2.5 quarters.
Just that drive, that whole drive was a debacle. Then you get 30 yards on the play because of the double penalty. Then you get a false start on yourself, net 25 yards, and then you get a dropped ball for a first down, missed field goal.
Yeah, it's a brutal part, but a beautiful microcosm of what the game was yesterday. One that was right there for the Packers taking at that point. It's a 7-3 game, and you have the ball right nearing the red zone, which ended up being the worst place for the Packers to have the football yesterday. 1 of 4, 25% scoring touchdowns inside the red area. He's John Kuhn. I'm Billy Schmidt. Armin Sarian's right there. We round third, head for home. We head for the red area. We score touchdowns there. We wrap things up next on the game. 9 to noon on the game. Sky's not falling. Sky's not falling, guys. Packers now 6-3, lose to the Detroit Lions, who feel like they're going to win, be the number 1 seed in the NFC North. Going to be tough. There's a lot of ball game left, as my guy Aaron Nagler would say. But John, 7-1, 4-0 away from the Motor City. And I thought Dan Campbell yesterday, we talked a lot about the 4th down decision by Dan Campbell to say, this is who we are. We're going to go for it here right away. We're going to punch you in the mouth and score a touchdown. Not once, but twice. But I loved his messaging after. He said, we're built to win. Doesn't matter where we're going to go play. We're going to be built to win. That's a team that you're going to have to knock out. And they make it really, really tough on you. You're going to have to play as good as you can to be able to beat that team coming up this year.
Yeah, the final things on yesterday's game is the Packers now have a target. They have a true target out there. And, you might have started the season believing that you were one of the teams to beat in the NFC. And you might be one of the teams to beat in the NFC, but you're not the team right now. You're not the king of the hill. You have a target set out there on somebody other than yourself, and you have something to chase. And that can motivate, that can center focus, and that can change things around a team where, yes, we lost to the Eagles the first game of the season. And yes, we had the bad loss to Minnesota, but now you can really center your focus and say, okay, look at the teams we lost to. Look at where they're at right now. If we want to do the things we want to, we got to stop with the bad mistakes, the self-inflicted wounds, and we got to be able to punch one out with a good team for 60 minutes.
Still haven't played their best game. Still haven't played their most complete game yet, and that's a good positive to have going into this time. We use a lot of cliches, like to laugh at a lot of good coaching cliches. John, ever a bad time for a bye week? This does feel like a good one. It feels like a great time for a bye week for a team that desperately needs a little bit of time to heal up with some of their most important players. John,
100%,
right?
100%. The bye almost never comes at a bad time.
Never.
You can always spin the bye into, well, we're getting this person back. Well, we're getting that person back. Oh, we just lost a game. The bye is always a refreshing, reflective moment that the Packers will take to self-scout themselves this first week and dive into themselves this first week and be able to hopefully hone in on what has been the causes to some of their self-inflicting wounds.
I just hope Matt LaFleur can enjoy the bye week this year.
I agree with you. Enjoy it.
I can only assume last year he's sitting there, family's like, can we go to Disney? Can we go to Florida? Go get out of town for a couple of days? Like, have you watched this team?
I'm going to be busy working.
We haven't won a game in a month.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to Disney World. I'm sitting right here. You guys can go. I hope he enjoys it.
True story. I saw Matt over the bye last week outside the facility, and we were in just a casual environment, and he was a little uptight. And I said, I remember telling him, I said, hey, everything's going to be all right. Your team's young.
Good.
And he was bothered.
John.
He was incredibly bothered with where they were last week on the bye or last year on the bye. And it's because they were playing poorly and they were not executing, and Jordan was struggling. The offense was struggling, but they were young. And they did correct some things, and they did make the changes, and they did go on a run that didn't just include playing teams like the Carolina Panthers. They did go on a run where they beat the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Lions in consecutive weeks. So they did improve in their play, and that was seen with how far that they made it down the stretch. Now this year, I'm sure he's still going to be a little cantankerous this bye week, coming off this loss to this team the way it was. But 6-3, he's going to be able to sit back a little bit softer in his chair as he starts self-scouting and thinking about the change. I can't imagine the changes are going to be as hard as some of the focused, detailed changes that were last year when they were 3-6.
Well, I think all Packer fans appreciate you, John, being that calming water.
Yeah,
for
no
him.
doubt.
Yeah, let's be the therapist.
We need more of that.
I'm not a therapist for him, Armin. I was the point of that story was. Yes, Matt LaFleur was extremely bothered last year during the bye week with where his team was at the time. And you know what? He's probably going to be a little, maybe not quite to the same extent, but a little bit based off of this team and this last game.
He's going to be a little ticked. He's going to be a little upset. I can only imagine. Armin, we ask you for one final thing before we get out of here and hand it off to the Mike Keller Show. Just one thing.
Just one thing, brought to you by Best Electric. If it's one thing, if it's everything, connect with the best, bestelect.com for all your electrical needs. Tyson and Zilla wanted me to tell everybody, called in specifically from Zilla, Washington. I don't know what the long distance price is, so it's a big call.
We're toll free now on the new NicolaLaw.com talking text line,
That's a good point.
877-794-1973.
He wanted to say when we were talking about getting rid of something that is getting rid of the national anthem was just a joke. He didn't mean it. He didn't want anyone to think he wasn't patriotic, that he really meant it. It was just a joke. Tyson and Zilla loves the national anthem, loves the USFA. We know that, Tyson. And did you guys know York Mints have 70% less fat than the average of the leading chocolate candy brands?
That's
I bet
two
you didn't
things.
know that. That's two things. I'm going to have a
One
York
thing.
Mint here after the show. So
That
there
was
you go.
one thing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know, you can get a couple of things done with Best Electric. So
It's also TK and Grafton's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
TK.
Hey.
Nooner shout outs on
There
the
we go.
birthdays, along with some other things people want to get rid of, like the PA announcers in general, especially Tom Brady.
hey,
And even first downs, just 4 downs to score. Wild stuff.
get rid of announcers so it's silent.
No, you bring up a PA announcer. Mike Heller's got one. And I'll jump the route on him. He wants to get rid of the press box announcer worse than anything in the world.
That's
he
funny.
hates that poor guy.
That's funny.
Mike Heller wants to get rid of him.
Wants to get John, there is not a quarter of football that we watch in that press box where he goes, why do we need that guy? Why do we need that guy? What do we need that guy here for?
Bill Jartz is a legend.
Oh no, not
Well,
Bill
not-
Jartz in the stadium.
not the
guy
PA.
in the guy in the press box that goes, that was a run of 5 yards by John Kuhn.
Just announcing to the media. Yeah.
5-yard gain. Tackle
yeah.
made by
That guy's unnecessary. Tell
him to hit the road. Get out of here. We got to hit the road. We'll be back tomorrow and try to be better for John Kuhn, Billy Schmidt. That's Armin Sarian. It's been 9 to noon. Here on the game, Mike Heller's next.
Who's calling me here? Who's my number?